Yes. Again, good morning. Um, Again, my name is Nathaniel Kyles, and I have the privilege of yet again hosting and being the MC of our 2023 annual Bridges International annual meeting. Again, I'm honored and blessed to be standing here as the master of ceremony for the second year in a row. I must say, just like last year when I was voluntold, yeah, that part. It was a little stress to me at first, but then I got the word to say, hey, you went through it last year, so this year should be a little bit better. And it is. It's a lot easier than it was last year. So, again, as I look around the room and I see all these beautiful faces in this room, and it's a pleasure to me to see yet again that as family, we're still here and we're still together. So, thank you all for attending. All right. Um, it's hard for me to believe, and I still find it unbelievable that 2 years ago I was given the privilege of attending my first annual meeting. And last year I had the opportunity of being the master of ceremony. Now, this year I stand before you as not only the master of ceremony, but the facility director here at Orlando. All I can say is, wow, what a company. To give you the opportunity to grow, so thank you for it. Now, just like last year, we came together to discuss our accomplishments for the past fiscal year. And last year's icebreaker, I had everyone go around and shake each other's hand, especially for those that didn't know each other. So this year we're going to try a little different, do something a little different. We're going to walk around the room for the next 45 seconds and see how many high fives we can get. All right? Try a little icebreaker. Everybody get that way you get your blood pumping. We don't ate, had a good time last night as well as this morning. So for the next 45 seconds, let's begin. Yes, sir. Hey, don't cheat. You cannot, and cannot high five the same person for 45 seconds. Doesn't work that way. Mr. Jenkins. Yes, sir. Of course not. Hey, try something new this morning. Try something new this year. All right, 15 seconds. Yeah. 10 seconds. Yes, sir. And time. Time. Let's please. Let's go and take your seats. Now, that was fun, wasn't it? Something different, something interesting. Perfect. Now, how many of us have at least, knock on, say about 80 high fives? 80? Good. 90? What about 100? No? Okay, good. 70? 60? 50? I'm going down to see exactly where we are. What about 5? Everybody's a reason hey, say at least I have 5 people that high fived it. All right. Again, before we begin presenting, I must set the ground rules. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones. I'll put them on silent. So that way we don't disturb others. Let's be mindful of the time limits that are set forth for each of us. Just like last year, if you should go beyond your extended time, you would then see me, notice me move a little bit closer to the podium and give you a wink or give you some help. So we go, because we have to keep this moving on. Okay? Everybody understand? Good, great. Do I have permission to do so? Perfect. Now, I've just been rewarded by the president. She said I can snatch your mic. Good. So, all right. Now, let's begin. Now we will be receiving the invocation from a man who is the epitome of what our mission is. He has been with the company for 40 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that deserves a round of applause. 40 years. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Father Charles Brown.
Let's bow our heads. Father, before we pass out any awards, before we do any presentation, before anything happens, before any greetings or before anything, we just want to thank you this morning. We're going to thank you, Father, for all that you've done and give you praise and honor, because without you, nothing could happen. So, Father, we just pray that you anoint this meeting, anoint this time. And, Father, you said in your word that we are not to worry about anything, but in all things through prayer, supplication, and thanksgiving to make our requests known to you. And the God of peace that surpasses understanding will always keep our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. So we love you, Lord. We thank you, and we pray that you bless this meeting and anoint it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Father Charles. Now, our next speaker who will be presenting the president of the company is an incredible and outstanding woman who has been on the board of directors for 4 years. She is a vice president and the chief human resource officer, as well as the chief operating officer of the Bridges International. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Miss Yolanda Dorsey.
Good morning, everyone. I was asked again to introduce our president, Ms. Lori Constantino Brown. And this morning at 2:30 a.m., I was laying in the bed looking up at the ceiling trying to figure out what I was going to say to introduce Ms. Brown, because most of you know Mrs. Brown and the history here at Bridges of America, Bridges International. So I got up, I went downstairs, and I just went into prayer. And I just asked God to give me a word to describe Mrs. Brown. And I came across a poem, first time ever reading this poem. And I read this poem, and all I could do was say, thank you, God, because this is exactly what I need to say. This is a poem by an author named A. Hart Gers, and the title of the poem is A Powerful Woman. It says, she rises from her adversity, but never forgets her origin. She learns from her past and chooses to keep going forward. Even when her steps get heavy, she transforms her pain and suffering into strength and wisdom. Yes, she may stumble. Yes, sometimes she falls. But just as the sun always rises, so too does a powerful woman. She is equipped with an intuition that guides her course like a compass. She strives to love herself and all that she stands for with a fierce loyalty, even when it's difficult. She's not afraid to seek the truth, even when it hurts. She is passionate and uses her gifts to inspire and spread light and love. With a mind of wonder and a heart of goodness and grit, she is resilient. She refuses to be navigated by fear and doubt. She knows where she's been, where she is, and where she's headed. She uplifts others and embodies authenticity and humility. She loves deeply, lives with compassion, and is relentlessly unapologetic. She is designed to be admired, not always liked. She is fierce, determined, and unstoppable. She is a powerful woman. She is Lori Constantino Brown.
Wow, thank you. Great way to start off my morning. I should try to be all those things. So good morning, everyone. I hope you all had a good night last night. We all had enjoyed that great meal. I don't know about you, but all I want to do is go home and go to bed after that. You full belly and all that. Oh, gosh, it was great. I want to have a talk a little bit. I'm really glad we're here in this building this time. You know, we may had to make some decisions, financial decisions, but sometimes when you're making some decisions, you actually stumble on better ideas. And it was like, well, if we could save money if we do it on the property. And then I thought, I'm really glad we're here. And that this worked out here. This feels like home. Our hotel doesn't feel like home. It's, you know, this feels like home. We're here, we're on the bridge, we're talking about the bridge, you know, this is us. And so I think it's super cool to be here. And I really think it's really cool to be in this room because I worked with Charles and Victor a while back to have a couple of things written up on the walls. And I want to talk about them because they're the founding of everything my father believed in, everything that I believe in, I hope, everything that you believe in too. And I want to start with this one over here, believe a man can change. The question really all of us have to do in our lives or choices is, do we believe that it's really possible for a burnout drug addict, armed robber, guy that's just built 20 years in the joint, whatever, is it possible for them to change? Do we believe that at least we can present the tools, that if they'll grasp those tools, they can make the right kind of decisions that change the trajectory of their lives? Okay. That is what I was talking about last night when I was talking about buy-in and feeling a part of. Because you need to ask everyone that works for you, everybody that works under you, one, do you believe a man can change? And two, are you willing to be part of an organization that does just that? Because it's hard working in these circumstances. It's not easy working with this population. You'll never make enough. If it's not your calling or your mission or your something in your inside of you that says this is the place I'm supposed to be, you'll burn out from it. You won't last long in it. It's too hard. I don't want to tell you how many times I came to work. Charlie can tell you in the day, sometimes I come in and I look at him and say, there's got to be an easier way to make a living than this. It was hard. And the bridge was formed. The vision for the Orlando Bridge was because my father truly believed a man could change and truly believed that if somebody would care enough to come alongside of them with tools to help them, that they can and would, in fact, bridge the gap between prison and society. Simple as that. That's the buy-in, guys. That's the mission. That's what we're here about. Now, I want to switch over to another thing because this is about something kind of different. The spirit of fear does not live here. There was a plaque when you walked into the bridge, when the bridge first opened many years ago, early 80s. When you walked in, there was this plaque that said just that. It just said, not the Timothy part, just said, the spirit of fear does not live here. And my father had it made, and he had it put at the entrance of the bridge. So that when the clients came in, their first time they came in, that was the very first thing they saw. Why is that? Because they had always, in their environments, been in environments where fear ruled everything. And what he wanted to do very clearly was state, this is not a prison. We don't do things in the spirit of fear. It's not all about you're going to do this or you're going to get punished. It's like, no, we want you to do this because we want you to do what's right. We want you to have a productive life. We want you. It's a totally different spirit and motivation. But we also understood that if the clients didn't feel like they were in a safe space, that change would not happen. They needed to be in a place where they understood that the spirit of fear doesn't live here. And that was so important, like I said, that it was on the thing. And you know, when a client would come in the program, all the other clients would meet them at the door. And what the message of that was, you are welcomed into our community. And from the very beginning that man or woman came in, it was understood that they were at something different. Okay, this isn't like any other work release I've been to. And when we would sit down and talk to these guys, we talked to them about, you know, what are your needs? What can we do? How can we help you? You know, you need a job, you need a place to stay. I mean, most of the common things guys getting out of prison need and stuff like that, but what else do you need? You know, what's troubling your heart? What's troubling your soul? What's got your, you know, addiction getting, you know, and that's how we actually became a substance abuse thing, was we had so many clients with substance abuse, it didn't make sense for us not to be a substance abuse provider. We had 80+% of our clients with a substance abuse problem as their number one thing. And the collective community of the Bridge leadership at that time, looking at how can we do things better, went, you know, we're really not addressing this need and making it an intricate part of our program. And that's when Charlie was challenged to start to write something, because he was the most familiar with drug treatment. And eventually it was mandated that those of us that were doing any counseling had to get certified to be a counselor, and only counselors were hired to be counselors. And we went into a treatment, you know, setup. The Bridge, every Bridge needs to be a place where when that man or woman comes on, they feel like they've arrived somewhere different, that they are welcomed there and highly encouraged and inspired to do something with their lives, to try to help figure out what their needs are, what their families' needs are, because that's an important part of engaging our clients. You know, it's hard when their families are struggling and they're trying to do things in the program, and you know, it's like, how can we help that? How can we unify this family? How can we help bring that together. That's a very, very important part of what we do, and always a thing that I'm going to challenge us to do more of, because our men and women don't heal in a vacuum. They go home to families, they got kids, their parents, they need so much more than we can even give them in the time that we have them. But the idea is that they come, we figure out what it is that this person needs to the best of our ability and what they're willing to work on, and then making sure that we use every resource we possibly have within the company or without to make sure that those barriers are addressed. And I feel like a good measure is to look at this man or woman that came in and ask yourself when they leave, are they leaving better than they came in? Some of them, that. You say, this guy really moved well. And then there's others that you go, okay, we'll be seeing this one again. You can present. The guys have got to do the work. Okay? It's our job to provide the culture, to provide the atmosphere, to provide the resources for them to do that, and highly encourage and inspire them to do that. Bringing volunteers in to help, bringing things, and every chance we get, family days, whatever, and get them involved as much as possible and as deep as possible in the program, because we know that every resource they add is going to be one more chance for them. That is what the experience of the bridge used to be. And let me tell you why I know that it's the secret sauce, if you will. I was talking to Charlie, and one of my jobs over the years was when we started collecting data, it was always my job to look at it as well as his. And back in the day when the department first started tracking our recidivism rates, but even before we were very sophisticated in any means, treatment or anything, we were just doing, reentry. Our recidivism rates are as high, it was higher actually than, a little higher than they are now. And when you look at that and you go, well, we added these things and these services, and it didn't really capture more people than we were capturing before. What's the common denominator? And it always comes back to engaging those guys in a relationship of caring about them and getting them on track. It's just so important. The other thing that I beg of you to do, please, is go back to your team, your centers, and please do for them what I have tried to do for you this week. Please talk to them about the mission. Please talk to them about the importance of their job and what you're trying to do here, and why this is not just a job. And you're not just a driver or just a kitchen person or just an op tech. Nobody is just in anything. It's kind of like if you get a championship football team. The whole team is the winner or the loser. Okay? And they need to be inspired and they need to be focused so that when they see that man or woman come in that door, that's another opportunity presenting itself. And one more person that God has put in our care and custody. And I consider that way. And I'll tell you who else I consider that way, our staff. I really don't want anybody ever coming to this company and leaving it for a bad experience. Now, sometimes you get employees and you got to fire them, and I get that. But I don't ever want an employee to in any way feel mistreated or not appreciated or, feel like they left the bridge, or I worked at the bridge, but it was a horrible experience and No, you don't want that. Okay, I want people to look back at their time at the bridge and feel like they were part of something at that time. Maybe they needed to move on, and that's okay. Not everybody's meant to stay forever. But your team is everything because they're the ones working day in and day out with the clients. They're the ones that got to be inspired. They're the ones that got to stay focused to look at the bigger picture. And it's not just whether you filled out this form or got this dated on time. And I know running a center, I've done it. I know how easy it is to be caught up in the mechanics constantly of what we do and forget what it is we're actually doing. Because you're so caught up in the administration and bureaucracy that's all, involved in how sophisticated they've made reentry services become. So I thank you guys, honestly, for listening to me last night and today. I hope that I've inspired you and caused you to think a little bit. Think about the fact that your center should not be a place where the spirit of fear is there. They should feel a welcome spirit of this place is different. This is something different, even if they reject it ultimately. So I thank you guys, and I'm going to turn the program back over. Where's our guy here? There we are. Thank you guys so much for listening. And listen, thank you all, too, for the hard work all of you do. So many of you have been here for so long and been, treading this ground. And I know to a lot of you guys I've been preaching to the choir. But it doesn't hurt sometimes to be reminded of why we're here and the focus of it. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam President, for your leadership, enlightenment, and knowledge to help guide us and this company into our illustrious future. And thank you for allowing us to be a part of the story. Now, before I move any further, this room has kind of died down. So let's pick up the pace a little bit. Let's stand up for a second. I know. Some of us have bad knees. It's okay. I promise you won't. I promise you. Now, look around the room. This is our family. This is another family reunion that we all are here for, okay? So, on the count of 3, let's give all of us a standing round of applause. 1, 2, 3. Good. All right, let's bring some energy back into the room. That's all happening. Now, we can have a seat. Have a seat. Now, excuse me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to reintroduce to you Father Charles Brown, who will be giving the Chief Cultural Officer's address. Ladies and gentlemen, Father Charles Brown.
Yeah, it's okay to clap. Good. I want to start out by thanking the people that have made all of this possible, particularly Hector. He's the music director at our church, and he's make sure that we have a YouTube going on every Sunday. So make sure you watch every Sunday at 10:30 our YouTube and our service that we present here every Sunday. I want to talk a little bit about my journey and what's happened to me since I've been here. I want to first reiterate some of the things that Lori said. What she said, one of the things that I want to say about Lori real quick is that 3 words describe Lori. Ever since I've been here, she has these 3 words. First, she's a very passionate person. I mean, I see you probably can see that already. The second word is compassion. She embraced this mission that her father implemented many years ago and decided that this would be a mission for her, and she have compassion on the people that we serve every single day. We talk about it. She comes to church every Sunday, but she has that compassion. And the third thing is impassion. She has a way of recruiting other people to buy into the passion. So that impassion, passion, compassion, and impassion, this describes Lori to a T. I want to start out by saying that I read a scripture this morning that said the Spirit has given each of us a special way of serving. So everybody in this room has a part in serving the people that we serve every single day. And so I think that's probably a good way to get this started. In fact, this is a victory lap. We always take a victory lap every year to brag about the things that we already accomplished and also just really excited about what's going to happen next year. And I want to say this because this is special for me. This is exactly 40 years of service here at the Bridge. I arrived here, thank you. I arrived here in 1983. I almost said 1883. 1983. It seemed like 1883. 1983, I arrived here at the Bridge, and I got out the truck, the car, and everybody that was a person, part of the Bridge, met me at the door. All 7 of them, they just, right there, they gave me everything I needed. They welcomed me. They told me that I was welcome here. And then I walked into the building, and that sign was up to the top. It said, "We believe a man can change." And the reason that was so important to me is because I never believed I could change. But then I looked at the sign again and said, "We," meaning that the staff there, everybody there would be a participant in your endeavor to recover. So I said, gosh, that's good. And directly under that sign was a sign that said, "The spirit of fear does not live here." Well, you got to know something. That's been my biggest problem all my life. Fear caused me to run away from home at the age of 14. Fear caused me to do a lot of things. But fear was the fear of discipline. My mother had a rubber arm, and I thought that I can dodge. I remember one time I was sitting on the sofa, and I spotted out that said something, and bam! And she was on the other side of the room. I'm thinking, how in the world did that happen? My mother had a rubber arm, to be honest with you. So I want to talk about, but I want to talk about the situation, what happened when I first arrived to the Bridge. The very next day, I was walking on the floor in about 100 yards from here in the very original building that we had. We only used one side because the only reason we had a 12-bed contract is because that's all we can hold. And I'm pretty sure that they were probably giving us a larger contract. But Frank always said this: do not despise small beginnings. And so the next day I was here, he pulled a chair out and told me to cut the bike off, and he sat and talked with me for about an hour. And I told him my story and what happened, my journey there as being a part of going to the institution for the first time. And I shared with him the history of my background and things like that, and he was very attentive to what I was saying. But one of the things I remember most of all, he kept asking me, "Well, what are you going to do now?" Kind of reminded me of a guy that when I went back on the streets after relieving the program, his name was Greg. He looked at me as I was telling people that it was not about drugs anymore, that it was all about God. He looked at me and said, "Well, what are you going to do now?" And so that question resonated with me. And I often ask the clients, when you leave here, well, what are you going to do now? Well, that's not an easy endeavor. The next couple of years, I celebrated from 1983, when I first arrived, to this year, 2023, and I've been here 40 years. I can't believe that I've been here that long. Most of my adult life, all of my adult life, because I was not an adult when I came to the system, most of my adult life has been focused on the idea that my life can change if I follow the instruction, basically what this program is all about. I became a permanent family member in 1983, and I came to here as an inmate, and I never left. Now, to me, that's an amazing story, because I was always on the run. I was running most of my life, and to come here in that length of time, and all these things happened. One of the things I remember very clearly is that the board of directors was always engaged with us. In fact, a meeting like this was held annually too, but they would come in the back and talk to us to ask us how we were doing and what the program was doing for us and those kind of things, and especially Dr. Grady McMurtry, and he did a really good job in helping me in my life when I first arrived here, because I got a job the very next day after I talked with Frank, and he talked to me and he asked me some questions about my life. But one of the things the next day, I was working. I was working on a construction site, something that I had never done before, and working as with the subcontractors to build Village Grove, which Frank was a builder at the time, and he was the construction manager. That's what he did when I met him when he first came. Now, he also was the director here, the overall director, and he would do things that was kind of amazing. He would always come and engage with us and make sure that we felt pretty comfortable where we were at the bridge. And when all the clients met me at the front door, I decided when I had an opportunity to do some things myself, that I would call that system big brother and big sister and little brother and little sister, because I thought it was important that when a person first come into any program, that they embrace the mission of the program. Now, we had 100% success rate in those days, and the success rate was predicated on the fact that when a person, I was interviewed twice in prison before I was able to even come here, and what they was looking for is my Christianity and where I was in Christ in order to help me when I came to the bridge. And one of the things I noticed is that when they did that, when I finally came to the bridge, it was just as sincere as when they had interviewed me twice in prison. And I often think about how I got here in the first place. I was raised up in Jacksonville, and there was a person that's a little older than me. His name was Henry Adam. Henry Adam was a judge, and he was a friend of mine on the street, but he never participated in the stuff that we did. He seemed to have himself a lot more discipline. But the reason I say his name is because Henry Adam was later appointed by Bill Clinton to be the federal judge in the Middle District of Jacksonville. Tampa. He did an excellent job. But he was the judge that actually sentenced me to where I am today. So actually, you can say the destiny of my life was already determined when we was linked together as kids. And one of the things that Henry did for me, he looked at my record and he looked me in the eyes. He said, "You know, Charles, I've been knowing you a long time." He said, "Every time you go to jail for something, I'm looking at your record," which was a pretty big record. He said, "What I noticed is that every crime you ever committed was associated with drugs." He said, "But I'm going to get you some help." He said, "I want to sentence you to a program down south, not a relatively new program, but a program that's been there since 1978. So he sentenced me to a drug program called Lantana Correctional Institution, and that's where I got most of my experience to understand about addiction. They taught us a lot. I was there for about 18 months, and part of the time I was there, they adopted me as a junior counselor, particularly working with the young people. So when the judge sentenced me to the Lantana Correctional Institution, he had no idea what the limits of the program was about. So when I got to Lake Butler, they said, I told them what the judge did, and they see it on the record. They said, well, that's going to be impossible because Lantana is a youthful offender. And I said, well, what is the age limit? They say 25. I'm already 32 at the time, and so I'm thinking that's going to never happen. So one day, waking up about 5:30 in the morning, the judge, they say, bag and package, they called my name, Charles Brown. And I already had the feeling that somehow or another I would be leaving in the next couple of days anyway. And so I left, and I said, where are you taking me? They say, you're going to Lantana. I'm thinking, I was not supposed to be there, so this has got to be something. I don't know what it is. So I said, okay. And then being at Lantana, the first 3 weeks of being there, they had a tight house, and as a result of the tight house, they slammed all the upper structure, and when everything was said and done, 3 weeks in the program, I'm the coordinator. I'm thinking, what does that mean? You have to stand up and address the room, the clients every single day, telling them the state of the program and what they need to do and encourage them. It's all like what Laura was doing. And I did the best I could. I remember the first time I was in there, I was so nervous. I looked around, I say, you guys are doing a good job. I want you to give yourself a stroke. And they started clapping, and about 2 other words I said that I can remember, and then I got done. 2 or 3 comments came to me and said, man, that was the best speech we ever heard. And I said, give yourself a stroke and hand clap and everything. And evidently they heard something that I didn't hear. They heard something that was speaking inside of me that was not me necessarily saying it, but they heard my heart. And that was the funniest thing. I always thought about that because I was not like a person who wanted to get up and share anything. I was just pretty happy in the background. So in those days, it was back pretty good. The third day, like I say, and one Sunday, and not in this building, but the building where we first came, and those signs was, we used to have service over there every Sunday. And one of the things that after that service, the guy that led Frank to the Lord, Mike Jones, he was the one that was preaching that day. And I can still remember that subject. He was talking about the begotten me sermon. What he was doing is that he went through Jesus' background, his genetics, and came up to the fact that Jesus was a result of some unsavory people, like a prostitute like Rehab, and people like that. And what he was trying to tell us is that we are all, the field is level. You don't have to be anything special. God can still adopt you into his family no matter what the situation is. In fact, as I look at the whole journey of the Bible, everybody, and I look at it as a bunch of people who overcomers, because everything famous person in the Bible, from Abraham to Paul and all those people, they started out by first going through something that was very difficult. And they overcame it, and they wouldn't be in the Bible had they not was overcomers. So I'm thinking God doesn't placate the people. What he does is that he sees us as people that are overcoming, and we become obedient to what he wants us to do or be, we can make it in life. And so one day, as Frank one day he put his hands on my shoulders after that Sunday service and said, son, if you leave the bridge, you will die. And I started shaking on the inside. I never forget, it seemed like it was just yesterday. I was shaking on the inside, not knowing what to say. And I kind of said, sure, you're right, and just left it off. At night, I went to bed. Before I went to bed, I prayed. and asked God, what did this mean? And God directed me to the prodigal son, where the prodigal son father said, this my son was dead, and now he's alive. So he was not necessarily talking about that I would go back to Jacksonville and die like that. What he was saying is that everything that I had accumulated at Bridges up to that time would be, my relationship with the Lord could be destroyed if you don't follow through. So one of the things, the other thing that he told me, he said, Charles, God has a plan for your life. And all of these conversations, he was telling me the same thing my mother told me, that you have a double portion of the Holy Spirit, and which I didn't understand. I started running from that. But then he put me in a bind because this was about my life. And I said that I'm not going to be able to leave here. If I do, I'll probably be somewhere where I wouldn't want to be. So as I looked around in my life and thought about all the things that God had delivered me from, everything seemed to be leading to where I am today. And so when that happened, when I read the song, and so to make a long story short, since I've been here, I have lost 7 brothers, and they was all younger than me except Herbert, my oldest brother. All of my brothers died directly from alcoholism or drug addiction. Indirectly, one who was selling drugs and got shot. But and every time I felt like I needed to leave here, and because of something like that was happening, I would talk to Lori, and she would encourage me. Like every time she said that she got ready to leave, I would say, no, I think God is calling you here. And so she decided to stay, and we all decided to stay. But the good news is that Frank was so impressed with my story, he wanted me to write a book, which we started on the book even back in the late 80s. And he had the lady to write the book, but then we had a manuscript, and he read it, he didn't like it. He said, no, this is not it. And so we went on, and then 2020, I wrote a book about my life, which is another subject. It's called The Anatomy of a Drug Addict. And so God has changed. I know we kind of short on time, but God has done so many things in my life that led me here and gave me this message, is that God has a plan for everyone's life. And where you are now and where you've been is part of the plan. That's a really truth for me. As I wrote the book, as I was crying and tears running down my eyes and discussing my life with Father Craig Mollett, and during the holidays, not the holidays, I would say during the pandemic, I was able to settle down and write the book. And so I'm so grateful to being here and doing what I'm doing today. A few years ago, Frank gave me this idea. He wanted me to write the program. And I remember when we had our first inspection, we had Chief Charles Shockley. He was over the Work Release Center, and we was a parent institute. We had to answer to them, and I remember he was looking at all the stuff that I had developed, and he said, "What gives Charles the right to write a program? Is he certified or something?" And that's put me on a route where I started trying to figure out how to get certified. And favor with God and Dick Jacob at the Center for Drug-Free Living gave me, I volunteered there so we can get started because I need to have hours in order to be a certified addiction professional. And I was certified in 1989, about, I say, 5 years after arriving here. So those are some real special times and some real special events that took place in my life. The other thing is that I want to talk about is that Frank, the hardest thing I had to do was to ask Frank to marry Lori. And so,
Everybody looking at me.
yeah. Well, I don't, let me say this one more
I'm
thing.
gonna let you say that.
Okay.
But I just want to let you know that everybody's looking at me like I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm not the bad guy.
Yeah, I know you're the good guy.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I just want to say this one thing, because this is important, because some time ago when we was looking at the concession and things like that and who's going to replace who, I decided to resign my position and take on a much more important position of being a person a guardian of the culture, which I was already doing most of my life here at the Bridges anyway. So I just want to say this one thing. I'll put a packet up there on everybody's desk, which is going to give you a PowerPoint of a training that I'm going to conduct on the 10th of this month. So in saying all that and just wondering how I got here and what God can do, God can work miracles in the client's lives just like he did with me. And say it again one more time, is that God has a plan for your life, and where you've been and where you are now is part of the plan. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Father Charles. And I can say this, it was not my plan to kick you off. Yeah, amen to that. All right, now let's move on. The next speaker I have the honor of introducing has been on the board of directors for more than 10 years. She started with the company in 2005 and has held almost every position from the facility director to the Florida State Executive Director of Operations, the Vice President, to develop of legislative affairs and for continued development of programs to her current role, as Vice President of Chief Development Officer. With many outstanding accomplishments, she continues to remain humble and willing to teach others through wisdom and patience. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Miss Cecilia Denmark.
She gave you 25 minutes, and you took 25 and 5. Okay, she gave it to you. I said, look at Lori, because she know Charlie's coming behind her. You still. But I want to start by saying that Mr. Brown, he always tells us about what the bishop said to him about if he left the bridge, he would die. Apparently, Father Charles has instilled that in me because I can't leave the bridge. I tried, and I still didn't leave. So after hearing Lori on last night, I thought about Philippians 4:13, and it talks about, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Well, guess what? We all can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, let me tell you, there's some Peters and there's some Pauls in the Bible. And I know it won't take much for you all to tell me which one I am. Okay, see? I have the Peter spirit. You got to show me. You got to show me. And I think about that all the time because when I came to the bridge, what? We're going to do what? We're going to sing Kumbaya. We're going to hold hands. We're going to do all these things with these men and women. And of course, they gave me the biggest center, the work release center. I had 212 men. And then Bishop said, well, can you also be over the Turning Point Bridge? At the time, we had 206 men. So I have 418 knuckleheads. And they wanted me to put together a program to where we could all join hands and do what Lori said. Well, let me tell you, I became bilingual and I bought in to the program. And when you buy into the program, you cannot leave the same. And that's what she was talking about on last night. When you get your team energized and engaged, let me tell you, you don't have to do anything. It will fall into place. If they know that you support them, you support the clients, you're going to keep order. And that's what I used to tell the bishop. I can't run an effective program if I don't have order. So we're going to do this because God orders the steps. And so Bishop was my number one cheerleader. He would listen to the inmates. They'd send him letters and tell him how horrible I was. And he'd show up on my program without calling or saying anything. Wouldn't even come into the office. He'd go down, he'd listen to them, and then somebody would say, Ms. Denmark, the bishop is on your property. Okay. You see, last night, Lori said, we need to own it. See, it was my property. And I told the bishop, how dare you come on the property and not come in? And he said, I sign your paycheck. Okay, bishop, but you're on my program. And I should know when you come to the program. But he said to me, everything that they've said to me has been lies. I saw, without you walking me on the program compound, and you're doing what it is we need to be doing. So I ask each of you all to become invested in what it is we're doing. No, we're never going to get paid a whole lot of money, but what you get paid from the heart when you see people change, trust me, when David Harris, when John Tate, when J.T. McClellan, when we called and said for them to come, Mr. Harris was my warden, and he could not believe one day when he came on the compound and there was a bounce house. He asked me, had I lost my ever-loving mind? Did you get permission? I said, no, because you would have told me no. So I didn't get permission, but I invited you to see what we're doing to reintegrate these families. When you get it, the team gets it. And the men and women want to do what needs to be done. So I just wanted to share that. That's the 5 minutes you stole from me, Mr. Last year, I was asked to work in 3 specific areas for the company. And that is marketing, development, and legislative affairs. So under marketing, Lori has asked that we rebrand ourselves so that we're out there and people know that we're not just about work release, we're not just about reentry, we're not just about treatment, but we are about a holistic approach, not just for the men and women that we serve, but for their families. Because you all have heard Mr. Brown say, for every one person that comes to our program, there's 7 other people that are attached to them. So we are working on trying to figure out how to rebrand, how to do some things. And the first thing we did was we looked at our website where we're getting notifications from individuals. We had not been real successful in responding to those requests timely in what we thought was a timely manner. So working with IT, we got together and decided that these requests would come directly to a team of individuals that would, Monday through Friday, we would answer them within 24 hours. Weekends and holidays, 72 hours. And the reason being because sometimes a holiday falls on a Friday. So we've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's Monday when we come back. I can tell you that since we implemented that, we are now functioning at 98% of responding and getting answers back to family members. As I was sitting back there, someone sent a very disturbing message, and I'm already working on it because we don't want our brand to be that we're not responsive. So along with Mr. Harris and Ms. Clark, we get on these responses that come to us immediately. So we're going to also be working on our website, doing some things to get it back functioning, user-friendly, getting your events out there and on the website so that people know what we're doing. That's a whole part of branding and marketing. Under development, we applied this year for a SAMHSA grant for our portal. We were not successful. There were 33 awards, but that's not going to deter us. We are in the process right now of looking at a Department of Children and Family Services grant that may be able to help us keep the portal going. Ms. Clark and I collaborated about some things, and we asked some questions, and we may be able to do outpatient services there versus the residential piece that we wanted to do. So we are really working to get that grant submitted because it's due on the 17th. So we are not stopping just because we didn't get that. We also applied for a Federal Bureau of Prisons request to bring on another facility like the one at Jacksonville, at the Orlando site. We have been told that we're the recipient of the award. We're just waiting now to find out when. When are we going to get the notification? As a matter of fact, Mr. Smith cornered me last night and says, "Have you heard anything? Have you made any phone calls?" And I said, well, in procurement, you're not supposed to make phone calls, but I'm anxious, so I'm probably going to do that, Mr. Smith, because this would be something that's very beneficial to our company to be able to get another federal procurement in and start advancing where we do our services, not just everything with the Florida Department of Corrections. Going into the one with the DCF, there's a portal now that they have for grants that some of them are only one-page submissions, but they're $200,000 or $300,000. So Ms. Clark has signed us up in the portal, and we're going to go after everything we can to ensure that we can pay the staff, that we can get the staff. So we're going to keep working on those. Under legislative affairs, I have been doing this for years with Bridges, and this past year, we were in Tallahassee just about every week, putting together presentations for the committee chairpersons over appropriations. I had 2 presentations. Mr. Smith accompanied me with one with the chairperson for appropriations to talk about per diem increases, to talk about the fact that in order to get and maintain qualified staff, we need to have an increase in our per diem rates. We did this. Mr. Smith put together one of the most phenomenal graphs and charts about the rising costs, but our per diem costs are still remaining the same. We didn't pull it through. We weren't successful, but that doesn't mean we're not going to continue. We're back at it again this legislative session, and on yesterday I received a call where I'm going to be doing a presentation again on the dynamic readiness piece of the program that we wrote years ago that the Department of Corrections agreed to doing, but they never fully implemented it. So I will be doing that for the Senator Jen Bradley and Senator Keith Perry to talk about when we bring the men and women into our programs, that they come in with 3 to 4 months of where we have an opportunity to literally work with them, see where they're at, develop these programs, these individual services plans, to get them ready for the work release piece. We're trying to move the needle on people thinking that it's just a work release program. We want to go back into being a program. No more work release, because when you think work release, all you're thinking is we're bringing them to us to get a job. That's not what we do. We're doing far more than that. So we want to get that mindset. And if we're able to be successful, we would be getting $77.53 in per diem for the first 3 to 4 months. And when they step down into work release, we would go from those measly little $24 to a $35 per diem rate. So I said in beginning my message, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So let us all be in prayer that we move the needle, we move the minds and the hearts of those people who make the decisions about what we're doing, because we are doing effective work. We're doing a work that puts men and women back into society and with their families, and they're not recidivating. We know that our numbers are still a lot better than those of correctional facilities. So I ask you to get back to your facilities, talk about what we do and how proud we should be of doing what we do, because we are changing lives. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Denmark. Now it is my esteemed pleasure to reintroduce to you our next speaker, who will be bringing the Chief Operating Officer's address. Once again, I present to you Ms. Yolanda Dorsey.
My message this morning to you is not necessarily about operations and the operations of the organization, but it's more about you as an individual, as a leader of our organization, as a part of our family. Our organization for this past year has went through many challenges, and I know you all know it, you feel it, with the low bed utilization, the lack of funds that we're able to bring in, the lack of staff that we're able to attract, the staff that we're not able to retain, the audits that the department has posed on us, some with financial consequences. And it seems like every time we get a step forward, it seems like we get pushed back too. I hear the struggles that you as leaders have at your facility. I feel the burdens that you feel. A lot of you all are working 60 hours a week just to keep the program going. And for that, I commend you. It's not easy. It's not easy to have the burden of running a facility, dealing with staff and all of their personalities, the lack of staff, the responsibilities that you have, the accountabilities that you have, and still do it with a smile on your face with your head held high. I understand it and I feel it. So I want to come to you this morning with the message that was given to me. Is to just stay the course. It seems sometimes with the level of attacks that we have, and we all are human. We have personal issues, and then we have to come to work, and we have issues at work. But we don't really talk about how heavy it sometimes feels. I'm coming to you this morning to let you know that we are your family. We want to help you with those heavy loads that you have. We want to lock arms together and run this course with you. But I am telling you to stay the course. Sometimes the harder it gets, the more we sit back and we think we just want to throw in the towel because I'm just tired. I'm just tired. And we feel like that more often than not. I'm just tired. But I'm here to tell you that God told me to stay the course. Don't give up. Stay the course. Don't change directions. Stay the course. It gets hard, I know, but stay the course. It gets heavy, but stay the course. And sometimes it gets really foggy and you can't see. Your vision is blurred. But still stay the course. Stay the course can be used as a phrase in the context of a war or a battle. And you're in war, and you see the enemy coming at you. And you want to just turn around and go the other direction. But staying the course is seeing that enemy, seeing those obstacles that you are going to face. But you say, you know what? I'm going anyway. The spirit of fear does not live here. I'm not going to be fearful of the attacks. I'm not going to be fearful of what I see. And I'm not going to be fearful for what I don't see. I'm going to stay the course, because you have to have a destination identified in order to make sure that you stay the course. And I want you to look at it this way. Romans 12:12 says, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, but constant in prayer. Stay the course. Look at it like this. Every morning we leave home and we're headed to work. Every morning. That's our destination. We already know it. It's predetermined that you're going to leave home and go to work. You have the route that you take every morning. When you get up, drive out of your driveway, take a right, left, whatever. But it's the same route to get to the destination. You got to get to work. It's predetermined. So I want you to use this as an example of what I'm trying to tell you. Let's use work, my place of employment, as our goal, our mission. There is a route that you take to get to work, correct? So that's our course. Now, we have to start out by going to that destination. And sometimes on our way to work, we may hit every red light it is. There's accidents on the way. You have to stop. Sometimes you have to switch gears. Sometimes you have to speed up. Sometimes you have to slow down. Sometimes you get a flat tire and you got to get out and change it. But at the end of it, you still end up where? At work. You maybe get there late. You may be frustrated by the time you get to work because of all the obstacles. But you still end up at work. You stayed the course. As we go through this process, just know the mission of our organization is our goal. We have to stay the course. And sometimes on your way, pick up some of those that are trying to make that same destination. That's our employees. Show them that regardless of the obstacles that come our way, we're going to stay the course. Stay the course. We are here as friends of yours, as co-workers of yours, not just leaders, as family of yours. We have to make it to the same destination. We're going to stay the course. We want you to stay the course. And when you go back to the facilities, you tell your team, we're going to stay the course together. We are here one for another, and we're going to make it because there are lives that are dependent on us. Just stay the course, team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dorsey. All right, next we'll be hearing from the facility directors who will be presenting their annual reports. First, we will hear from Mr. Norman Jenkins of Turning Point Bridge. Here's something I find interesting about Mr. Norman. Throughout his years as a facility director, and I'm fairly new as a facility director, I had an opportunity to sit down with him and ask him one simple question. What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated? Why not retire? Mr. Norman looked at me with a straight face and he made this one comment. Well, if I retire, my wife might get tired of me sitting around the house. So this is why I continue to work. I said, okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Norman Jenkins.
70 now in 2 months. Oh, I tell you, I don't know what to do here. Man, this has been a totally different meeting. Totally, as the president said, a different vibe altogether. It has been. But good morning to everybody. Only a few in this house this morning can understand how I feel to be standing before you, an audience or congregation, with a microphone in my hands, and I wonder, is this heaven? I tell you. There's a song I heard recently that says, God does the impossible. And another part of this song says, he does what no man can. We know this particular song is referencing God. But this morning, in a few minutes, you will be hearing from a group of leaders that do the impossible with the resources that they have. Some drive the van. You're right, Ms. Dorsey, when there's no van driver. Some do count, supervised food service, when there's no operational tech. Some work on device monitor when the device monitor didn't show up. Those things do not show up in the statistics that you'll see in your book, but they are done by super directors. Directors that's on the job to ensure the job is done. And I think at this time, I'd like to give all my co-workers, all my co-directors, a great big round of applause. Can you help me? Last year, Ms. Francis and I did our rendition of We Are Family. Well, I'm not going to sing this year. I'm not going to keep giving out concerts for free. But this year, I want you to remember directors, board of directors, president, vice president, whatever your role is, I want you to remember that our directors do the impossible. Now on that, what I was instructed to do was talk about our successes, graduations, certificates earned, value-added agency-wide outcomes. Graduations, Auburndale non-secure, 4. Orlando non-secure, 4. Bradenton, 1. Cocoa, 1. Jacksonville, 1. Lake City, 2. Orlando, 4. Turning Point, 2. Santa Fe, 2. That's a total of 21 graduations in this past year. Certificates. Certificates were awarded in the following areas, and I hope I don't miss any. Food service, Safe Serve, OSHA, 10, 20, and 30. Forklift, Compass 100, Moral Recognition Therapy, Substance Abuse Program, GED, Fatherhood, Florida Ready to Work, for a total of 3,973 certificates awarded company-wide. Again, I say to each and every one of you, we do the impossible. Finally, let me talk about a little bit about the gem, the jewel in the South, Turning Point Bridge. Oh, yeah, I said the jewel in the South, Turning Point Bridge. Turning Point has a maximum client population of 100 and a maximum staff of 25. Turning Point just completed, and we thank the president and everyone that approved this. Turning Point just completed a renovation of all its clients' restrooms, costing over $100,000. That's a big one. Staff from DOC always like to come to Turning Point. It seems like every time I turn around, somebody from DOC is showing up. But they've been showing up these last 2 weeks to see bathrooms. How great a job those bathrooms. And you know what they did? Because I was kind of hesitant about it at first. Man, are they going to take care of it? It instilled a brand new pride in the clients that we have. And so the minor problems or the problems that we were having with them leaving soap on top of everything and trash, they're actually keeping those bathrooms clean. And I'm so happy for that, because the last time somebody visited and it wasn't clean, I had to talk to Mr. Harris. But I convinced him it wasn't my fault. I think I convinced him. And what a commitment to our client population. We've developed some new partners this year that donated toys, book bags, classes for the clients, and our ever-loving money. At Turning Point, we're always working to be the best, as supported by our last audit of only one finding on our last DOC audit. We're not without fault, as identified by some duty wardens. However, we do work first to correct the problem and then to eliminate the problem. At Turning Point, we do the impossible every day. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Norman Jenkins. All right. The next voices we'll hear are from Ms. Angela Mitchell, the Facility Director of Bradenton Bridge, and Mr. Kenneth Roundtree, the Facility Director of Lake City Bridge. Here's an interesting fact that I admire about Ms. Mitchell. Ms. Mitchell is very, and I mean very competitive. As in Ms. Mitchell's eyes, Bradenton Bridge is always the best, while the rest of us directors kind of give it a side eye of like, really? But we're coming for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present to you Ms. Angela Mitchell and Mr. Kenneth Roundtree.
I'm gonna let Ms. Mitchell start this off.
Well,
Thank God for us being here.
Good morning, everyone. And we are the best, Braden are the best, so, you know, I'm very competitive, but one thing that I can say that I'm very happy to have bought in the company. And as Mr. Jenkins say, we do the impossible, and I'm sure I could speak for everybody. We do the impossible because we pray. And we have that faith. And faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So when we have that prayer, we know God gonna see us through. So I have the faith, and I know we gonna make it through this. So we're here to talk about family reunification and family days.
This past year. those can allow.
Family Days, company-wide. See, he wrote his speech, I didn't. So, company-wide, we had a total of 32 family days. Home for, you did home for parenting classes. We had a total company-wide of 6 inmates out of 451 completed the parenting program and had open dependency cases. One of them came from Bradenton, I know, and it was just something to see a mother reunite with her kids after being taken through the mud and drugged through the mud, and she could be reunited with her kids.
As I say, the company had, I stand by the test. Testament. This day, the family activities not only children to families, major matters, even on their face, late in life. Our work.
So as we can see, he has already included his facility, so he bragged about his facility. So now it's my turn to brag about Bradenton. And the first thing you see when you walk into Bradenton, you will see a big old sign, the Bradenton Bridge, and our motto is where miracles happen. And we are a miracle. If some of you remember, I think we're the only center who had a client to deliver a baby there. And we named it Little TBB. And he is 3 years old, and he's a joy. I keep in contact with the client. She didn't get pregnant there, so if anybody asks, no, we got her pregnant. We received her, she was pregnant. She was one of those cases where I did not know I was pregnant, and she didn't. So one of the greatest things is we partner with a church who have gotten us access to have our girls enrolled in college. So I had the pleasure of having 2 ladies to complete the program successfully and who are now college students. She's been in college now going on 2 years, and she just gave birth to her first child. A little bit about Bradenton. Bradenton is a safe place, and I could say that this spirit of fear does not live there. I have several clients who come up and ask, Ms. Mitchell, can we just rent a room? Could we stay here? And when you have them come to you and ask to stay, that speaks volumes. They're more safe there, and they don't want to go back out in society. So that speaks volume to have them say that. I mean, I wish I could, but I can't. One of our big, I spoke about it last year, was we partner with a company who now comes out once a month and sign the ladies up for free medical insurance. So when they go to the hospital, their bill are paid. So when we have our weekly meeting, we present that to them, and pretty much every lady that's there are receiving free medical insurance. And I was just told that they're bringing in dental. And the dental, it's going to be like $5 a month, but it take care of everything. So that's a big plus that we have that information. Donations, we have some of the biggest donations. We had one guy to come in, and every child that attended our Christmas program walked out with a $100 gift card. Every child. Every child. The ones that could not make it, we was able to mail them gift cards home. So that's a little bit about TBB. Again, we're where miracles happen. We're small but mighty. But I do appreciate all the directors. We come together once a month, and it's something that's joyous. I enjoy what I do, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. Thank you for your time.
To conclude what she said, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roundtree and Ms. Mitchell, for your inspiring reports. One of the next presenters that we're getting ready to hear from, her and I share a history together. She was my former assistant director here at the Orlando Bridge, and I was her operations supervisor. Now, years later, she's now the facility director at Cocoa, and I am the facility director here at Orlando. Look at God. Now, here's another interesting fact that I found out about Ms. Bateman. I think last night, her and I was having a discussion, and she informed me that she's been married for over 30 years. Congratulations. I'm impressed. Now, when asking what was the secret, Ms. Bateman said, you know what, Mr. Cowles, I think the time apart did us great. I said, okay. So time apart from your husband is is the key to a long-lasting marriage. I can say thank Bridge for that too. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Ms. Kimberly Francis and Ms. Michelle Bateman.
Good morning. Okay, we're here today to speak about the new partnerships that have developed throughout last fiscal year from all the facilities. I'm going to start off with Auburndale. Auburndale developed 9 partnerships, which is tremendous for them. TBB developed 2 new partnerships. Cocoa developed 3. Jacksonville, 8. Lake City, 2. Orlando didn't report, but I had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Cowles, and he informed me that they developed 4. Turning Point developed 4, and Santa Fe developed 6. That may seem small for last year, but let me tell you, that's a lot. That totals up to over 40 new partnerships that were developed, in addition to the current ones that they already have. These partnerships, give them credit. These partnerships are what help keep our facilities going. They are what help keep our facilities growing, especially giving these men and women the new opportunities to go back out into society. So with that being said, great job. Thank you.
It is over 30 years, but it's 30 years and 3 days. So I count every day. And I do want to thank the Bridge for that also, because I thought I wanted to retire a few years ago, and y'all called me up and asked me to come back, because if not for that, it might have stopped at 28. So, so I'm very happy to be back. I have to say, I love my job. I do. This is it right here. People think I'm funny, but I'm just a crybaby, really, at heart. But anyways, I do. I love the people I work for. I love the people I work with. I love just about anything you give me to do. The only thing I don't like is when I'm in a director's meeting and Mr. Harris says I have to be quiet because I'm not a director and I'm QM. So I have to write a note right in front of me and say, shut up. So the last meeting we had, I was a director, and I tore up that note so I could talk. But anyways, I have been at Santa Fe now for just a little over a month. I'm an acting director there. So have job, will travel, just remember that. Hopefully I'm not going anywhere. But at Santa Fe, it's some very good people, just like everybody else does. And they had some very interesting partnerships that really surprised me to see. There's a sorority with the University of Florida, Phi Beta Sigma, that actually donated book bags for the Back to School project, which was really good. That surprised me. Because who would think that they would be thinking at that age about inmates and their children and about people getting back into society? Sometimes people at that age are just so much into themselves or into their heads and stuff. But they're thinking about others, and that was amazing to me. And there were right behind where Santa Fe Bridge is. It used to be a facility, a Department of Corrections facility, and now it's Grace Market. So it's a lot of homeless and some things like that are going on. But what they're doing to help out, one of the partnerships that started is, rather than all the inmates that don't have families having to go out and get a loan, some still do, get their credentials, their ID, birth certificates, they're providing a document to the inmates so that they can go and get their credentials for free. And that is amazing because they don't have to start out in the hole. So it's really good. I know at Jacksonville, I took a letter from Jacksonville there thinking that they would be able, that this city would start that out, but they didn't do that. So Grace Market did that for them instead. And so that's been a great big help. So other than that, I just want to say that they're doing good things and some very hardworking people, and I appreciate being there and having the opportunity to lead them again for this little bit of time. So thank you very much, and thank you all for all your support.
Oh, we're not finished.
Oh,
We got to
okay.
talk about Coco.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, we're not finished. I'm sorry.
I apologize.
That was just my initial report out.
Okay.
I do want to discuss Coco. I have now been there for a year and a half, and it has been a pleasure. I want you all to know that. One of the partnerships that I have developed is Elevation Church, which I am extremely, extremely, extremely happy. I'm sorry, everybody. Is that me? Extremely happy to have them at Coco. They donated over 50 backpacks for our back to school family day. They also had an ice cream truck that they brought up to the facility and gave out free ice cream to everyone who was there. We've had a bouncy house. They have been a wonderful partner. Anything that the guys need, may want, is this me? I'm sorry.
Amen.
They have been there for me, so that is one church that I am extremely, and I have to say it, they also donated $10,000 to Coco. This happened in the last fiscal year. So, Coco is growing. We have more partners that are coming aboard with us. Like being in Brevard County. We'll hear more next year. Thank you.
You ladies. Can everybody hear me now? Good. Right now, we'll do a 15-minute break. We'll come back. We'll resume around 11 o'clock, and then we'll complete our program. Thank you. Testing. Perfect. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can all have our seats, please. All right, welcome back from the bathroom, from the restroom break. Now, let's continue. Our next presenters are the Facility Director of Jacksonville Bridge, Ms. Christy Randall, and myself, the smooth-talking voice that you've been hearing all morning that fills your ears, me. All right, Ms. Randall, if you please join me. Of course I do. Thank you. I've been talking all morning. I have this discussion in front of everyone.
Just so y'all know, he just threatened me. So, let's talk about Jacksonville. Jacksonville, we've had our ups and downs, but we've had a good year. As far as employment, my guys have increased their hourly rate by $3. Last year at annual meeting, we were at $13.17 an hour. So now our average is at $16.25 on 267. And on the 299, they're at $16.27.
Let Orlando step in and show you how it's done. Last fiscal year, we were reporting we had an hourly average rate of $14.09 an hour. Now, this fiscal year, we jumped up to $15.87, and that's at 351. Now, 352, same difference. We jumped from 1563 to 1729 last year. Again, that matches and supersedes your $3.
Fine.
I know.
I train you well. So, moving forward, as far as iBill, this is our first year at Jacksonville, with the iBill program, which is an awesome program. I know I can't brag about it yet until next year, but we did have our first graduation Monday. So that was a big deal for me. Starting out in the iBill program, we actually started with like 15 guys. But once they learned what the curriculum was about, what the work they had to put in, the numbers did drop, which I was expecting that. But we still had a great turnout with graduation, which actually included the federal program. Able to include them in with the state, so they was able actually to go through the program also. Mr. Orlando.
Of course. Yet again, Orlando has to come in and show you how it's done. Now, with the iBill program, the iBill program started here about, 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, and it is consistent. The curriculum consists of basic construction and carpentry, followed by construction and electrical, and finally construction and plumbing. So this training that you guys are receiving will help them become more employable once they are in our programs and once they are exiting the program as well, to help them become more employed and successful. Now, here are my bragging rights. Our first enrollment consists of 17 inmates who completed the program, with an additional 14 inmates who have been enrolled since May of 2023. And I am proud to say tonight at 6:30, we have another iBill graduation.
So moving forward, since we are known for our big family days, let me brag about it just a little. Our biggest family day is Christmas. I go way out for Christmas, for family day, because I love Christmas. And to me, for a kid, that should be the biggest holiday ever. So every year I sit and I brainstorm on what am I gonna do? Because I don't want to give them a $5 toy. That's just my standard. So last year, I had this bright idea. I was gonna find tablets, because technology world. So I wanted every kid, I didn't care how old they were. I wanted them to have a tablet with the covers, and I wanted it to be colorful, and I wanted it to be eye-catching. So I called Mr. Harris, and he said, "You can make that happen, but how?" And I said, "Well, I'm gonna find a way." So I reached out to all of my employers, all of my partners. They all start donating money. So money started flowing. So I went and I found all these sites, and I was trying to get all these tablets in bulks. And we kind of got knocked down by some of them, because a lot of people won't sell you bulk tablets. But we did find one. And when we found it, it turned out awesome. So I had a total of, I think it was 52 little kids that showed up for Christmas, Family Day, and Santa gave all of them tablets with the cases. Even the older kids, teenagers, they were able to get tablets. So they were able to also get cases. And this would allow them to get online, do their homework, play games, because some of the tablets came with games already programmed in them. So they were able to actually come and be happy and see their faces light up when they actually got the tablet was a big deal for me.
Okay, I'm gonna give you that one. Well, no, bragging on Orlando, we did have a total of 3 family days, which was held here at Orlando Bridge CRC, which included the back-to-school family days, the backpack giveaways, food supplies to the children in need, our Christmas family day, as well as Easter. Now, this year, since I've been here at the Orlando Bridge since May of this year, we did the backpack giveaway. We gave away about, I say, roughly 25 to 30 backpacks to the average families of the guys that we serve. Now, I do have a vision for Christmas, and I can't share that with you yet, but it's going to be big. So next year when I'm bragging, bigger than Jacksonville, we'll be here.
You'll never be bigger than Jackson.
For the competition.
There's power in the tongue. So I'm gonna close mine out with my new partners. DOC blessed us with training inmates with CDLs and providing them with their CDL license. I took advantage of that. And I've even shared with them when they come and visit. I love it when they send me CDL drivers. CDL drivers have a totally different attitude than the regular client. And I push that to my clients that are already there. I try to send them so they can get certified, or I put them in our value-added program so they can start working on getting their CDL or forklift, anything of that nature. Because if you can give somebody a certificate or provide them education that nobody can take from them, they got something to hold on to when they get out. They got something to do with their time to be successful when they get out. So I have had a total of probably 8 CDL drivers that I've actually been able to find them jobs driving at my facility. So that allowed me to partner with Coca-Cola, Goodwill, Charles Tree Service, and Duval Asphalt. So I have guys driving at all of these new partners that I've developed, and when they actually EOS, they continue to drive there, which I just developed another partnership that I can't brag about next year, which is Meridian Waste. And these guys are starting out at over $25 an hour. So they have no reason to go back to the streets. So I set a standard for my clients, because if I don't set a standard, they don't have anything to reach for. So the new partnerships that I develop is something that's going to provide them some type of stability And the partners, I actually sit down and I speak with them. I actually just had them in my office last week with Duval Asphalt. We all have the same goal. So we have to be on the same page in order for the guys to be successful. So when we develop new partnerships, it's not just getting a new job. It's developing a partnership that we have the same interest in, which is the productivity and successful of the client. Because without partners, we won't be successful.
Next year, you're taking this mic. All right. Let me piggyback on what Ms. Randall said about the CDL drivers. We also have included our CDL drivers with our programs here with Orlando. We are now partnered with Waste Pro Management out of Sanford, which I think we have a couple, maybe 2 or 3 guys that actually work out there now, and I have some more in training to their CDL drivers license as well. I think the Waste Pro managers, what they're making today are, I think it's about $25 to $26 an hour. So that's good. I tell them every guy that comes in, and I have a sit down with them, I have a talk with them, I tell them, your focus is to change your mind first. Job is secondary. Also, once you receive a job, my job is to help you get that job to become more successful once you complete the program. That's your ultimate goal. So as soon as you have some type of financial stability, your chances of reoffending will be less than likely than you without having a job. So that's what we encourage here. Also, I'm proud to say that we have reunited with one of our previous employers, which was Addison HVAC. Years ago, they just stopped dealing with us altogether, and I did have a chance to sit down with one of the managers that I knew, the hiring managers, and he actually started employing our guys. Now they're telling us they're going to open up a new warehouse, which is like 40 acres, and they're just going to start employing our guys there alone. Say, perfect. So that's one of the things. Okay, perfect. That's one of the things that we're looking forward to. So for that, I'm going to wrap this up so we can move forward. So that's me presenting from Orlando and Ms. Randall presenting from Jacksonville, Florida. We thank you all. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
For me, it would be having the staff. That's been my biggest challenge, staffing. And it's not that they don't buy in. I don't think that's the problem. I think for me, finding the right staff, because I have a standard. I'm just not going to hire anybody. And that's what makes it hard, because I could just go fill the position to have a body. That's easy. But I've learned when I do that, I'm not successful.
For me, since May, the 2 challenges I faced was staff and unemployment of inmates. Those are the 2 things I knew I had to tackle as soon as I got here. Now, before I became the facility director here in Orlando, I think we were still maybe 18 positions down. So that was a struggle. And then I seen the unemployment rate of the inmates or the clients that we serve. There was an increase in that, and I had asked myself why. So my strategy was to get with the employment specialist first and find out exactly what's the problem. Let's get on the same page. Your job is to employ 15 inmates per week, and I challenged them to it. So they started to catch on to it, and now I'm happy to present that the guys I have now that are unemployed are the new gains, and maybe 2 or 3 guys that were just laid off. So that's a plus. Staff, they're coming in, and just like Ms. Rhonda said, I'm in the position of hiring people, not bodies. I'm hiring people, the people that care, people that want to come in and do the job, not just the body. I'm just here for a paycheck. That doesn't sit right with me, because you'll miss the mission. You'll miss exactly what we're saying. You'll miss exactly what we're trying to teach, and that's what I'm not trying to do. Okay? All right. Now, thank you, Ms. Randall. I believe our presentation was spot on. The next presenter we'll be hearing from has made a substantial impact at the Bridges Federal Reintegration Center in Jacksonville, Florida. Under his great leadership, the BFRC continues to strive for greatness. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joseph Minnis.
Like they say, the best for the middle of the program, so. It was a lot of great things that transpired during this last fiscal year for JBFRC. Just to name a few, we established new employers within the community, giving residents a better opportunity to start their second chance on the right path with the help from our employment specialists as well as case managers. For our facility, we also received our first full PREA audit this past fiscal year, where we maintain outstanding results, and our facility has earned its first ever PREA certification for the facility. We as a facility continue to strive for excellence with high expectations, partnering with the Bureau of Prisons with the contract on exceeding high expectations during our quarterly audit for these last fiscal year. And one of the main highlights that I want to talk about for our facility is our community relations program. We did start that up when the facility started this contract in 2021. And our program has grew tremendously within the community with its new partners, maintaining and gaining new partnership throughout the community each and every year. And I was able to share a moment with Ms. Randall and the work release side as well during this last Christmas, where we had some of the residents come back and talk about how the program helped them to be better fathers, be better husbands, and find better career jobs, housing placements. And one of the important things I want to discuss as well about the Community Relations Board, we also have one of the local leaders who help the residents build their credit. So that's very important. So we're continuing to strive for excellence on that. And for this fiscal year that's coming, myself as well as my facility will continue to strive for excellence, focus on helping the residents, whether it's housing, being better fathers, better husbands, better leaders in with their families and employment. Because the most important thing for me that I do teach as well is we're here to help the residents. You know, we all do have a job. You know, we come to work every day, but at the end of the day, who can you say that you help? So that's definitely big in my heart, and myself and my facility will continue to strive for that. I do want to piggyback on one of the biggest challenges that Mr. JT asked the directors that was up here before. And I feel it was a biggest challenge for me being a new director and having new staff turnarounds as well. One of the biggest challenges for my facility as well as myself was getting the staff under you, getting the lower line staff to buy into your expectations on how you operate as a director and how your programs succeed within the community and, you know, and partner within the community and succeed as a facility. And one of the successful things that I can say up here today is getting that staff to understand my vision and my goal. And I feel that myself as a facility director, I am in that direction to where, you know, what really touched me this past year is when I had the Bureau of Prisons come down and conduct the quarterly audit. And it really touched me because, you know, as directors, we all know we're going to be that sense of urgency person. We want to make sure we do things right. We want to check everything. But when you have that line staff checking and how did we do, or what did he say, or how things are going, that really touched me as a facility director because you had that support. You know, and I'm definitely honored to be the facility director for the Jacksonville Bridge Federal Reintegration Center, and I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minnis. All right, next we'll hear the annual reports from the Orlando Bridge Residential Treatment Center presented by the interim executive director, Dr. John Lott. Dr. Lott has been with the company as the director of behavioral health for approximately 9 months and has recently been granted the opportunity to work as the interim executive director here at Orlando Bridge Residential Treatment Center. During this time, Dr. Lott has become more involved in the clinical and therapeutic processes with the clients we serve and has become a positive influence to many staff members as well. Please help me welcome Dr. John Lott.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone, to all the board members and our president, senior vice president, and all of you in line. I will be speaking for Auburndale as well. Not a whole lot on that, but just want to say that Auburndale did open successfully, I believe, back in February or so, a co-ed facility, and we are maintaining it. Come on. When I say maintaining it, we don't have any major issues, no questions about who the baby daddy is and all that stuff, so we're doing a good job with that. Okay. One of the main things in working with Auburndale as well as with Orlando Residential is that we did strengthen our community partnerships. We really did increase awareness. One of the things that we're doing also in Auburndale, we established was working with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, and that we have moved into volunteering within the jail. We weren't doing that before. Some things had dropped off, so we did make that reconnection, and we're doing those things. As far as Orlando goes, Orlando has been a challenge, but it takes me back to the days of when I was starting out working as an executive director in a residential program. We have increased our census to 70. We have totally kind of renovated the area, thanks to Mr. Harris and his staff. We've fully painted every building in the area and did some more signage there to make it more appropriate and visible. We have developed a weight room. Mr. Cisneros and the clients have worked diligently, and we do have a weight room over there now. Ms. Clark has just informed me that Planet Fitness is going to be dedicating some new weight equipment for us for that, so we're excited about that taking place. We renovated the volleyball pit. Let's see what else we want to. Better food monitoring. We've implemented and working on a better food monitoring. We're working with Mr. Kyles real closely on that. And one of the better partnerships that we're pleased of is the Valencia partnership, in which Valencia has expanded now their trades, and we're offering carpentry and forklifting to our clients. On a note that I know our president will be happy for, the TC community is alive and well. The TC community is alive and well. The clients are holding each other accountable. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So when you walk over there, you talk, you ask them, you'll see that that's in place, and hopefully we'll continue to maintain that. One thing that's excited about me is early Christmas present. We hired an executive director and a clinical director. Early Christmas present. I want to say, Ms. Lori says that she hopes that what she says has been beneficial. You blessed me last night. You blessed me last night because the thing that I was asked to talk about is being an agent of change. And everything you cover, Ms. Lori, is in my presentation. So I'm going to give a little snippet. I'm going to cut most of that out, but you hit on it, and I just wanted to kind of just bring in some more formal pieces of that real quick if I can. Ms. Denmark ain't going to let y'all sit me down. Matter of fact, I was told, now y'all tell me if this is true, the baby of the community gets extra 5 minutes. Too much pressure. All right, let's keep moving. All right, keep moving. Go to the next slide, please. Go to the slide. It said, who is a change agent? Who is a change agent? Back in the beginning, at the very beginning. I don't have that in there. Who is a change agent, okay? I just want to talk about that, agents of change. When you talk about we believe a man can change, it's saying that we have the capacity to help them get to that point. So we are agents of change. That means we have the qualifications, we have the skill sets, we have the resource, we have everything in place needed to make that difference and to make that impact. The thing that I love that Ms. Lori said most of all is going back and selling our staff on that. And that's what we've been doing. We've been selling our staff on being change agents, making a difference. How can we help you getting involved? And sometime it will come down to you having to spend 15, 20 minutes, half an hour listening to some of the things that they're going through. But look who the change agent is. A change agent is known as an advocate of change, a person who acts as a catalyst for change in the management process. They help the organization or a part of an organization transform how it operates by inspiring and influencing others. A change agent will promote, champion, enable, and support the organization. Get me to the responsibilities. Let's look at the responsibilities real quick, and excuse me talking fast, but you know I'm on a time crunch. Responsibilities, let's move into them. Next slide, please. Communicating how change is beneficial for both the organization and employees. This builds to what Ms. Lori was giving us last night. This builds, so if I don't make it all the way through the PowerPoint, please get this, directors, because it builds, it adds meat to the bones of what she was saying. And this is how we go about being agents of change, okay? Communicating how, no, go back, let me finish. Communicating how change is beneficial, thank you, for both the organization and employees. Listening to the involved team members, which is what Ms. Lori was saying last night, and employees to gain feedback and incorporate it into the implementation process. Continue on. Understanding employees' reactions to change and reducing resistance to change. Actively engaging with employees by conducting change management exercises and change management training, encouraging and supporting employees to become change champions and promote that. Identify and leading other change agents to success. That's what we are. We're change agents. I got an exercise just as I close out and I'm finishing. All right, now y'all wasting my time. Come on, hurry up. What? Don't, does it? That's what change is all about. Having to get doing something that's something. Thank you so much, and I'd just like to say, Ms. Lori, I appreciate it. Father Charles, thank you so much for the opportunity. Ms. Clark, thank you for having faith in me. And
Thank you, Dr. Locke, for your impressive reporting. Next will be the Orange County Porter presented by Ms. Johanna Strader. Ms. Strader continues to make significant strides to provide services to the individuals we serve. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Johanna Strader.
I stay under 5 minutes. So I was allotted to talk about embracing the mission and focusing on our services. Before I start, I want to tell a short story. So I grew up as a PK. My father was a prestigious pastor of this church in Stockbridge, Georgia. He had a brilliant mind. He was the valedictorian of Bethune-Cookman College. He did missionary work in Jerusalem and Bethlehem. He wore a suit every single day of my life, didn't have a pair of jeans. The only other piece of clothing he had was some jogging shorts. I watched him in the pulpit preaching. I also watched and knew secrets that no one else knew. Secrets that all week long my father would be missing because he was out getting high off of crack cocaine. But one thing we knew was that on Sunday morning, he would enter those doors, go in his room, write his sermon, and go to Sunday school, high in the pulpit. I'm not going to even talk about his mental illness. The end of this story is my father committed suicide. And all I can think about, and let me just add this, there was plenty times that he should have been arrested, but no one wanted to arrest the pastor. How I wish that they had. So my point of this is, I wish he had the opportunity to attend a program like ours, The Portal. Our mission is to provide criminal justice involved individuals and their families with comprehensive therapeutic services according to their recovery and reentry needs. How do we embrace that mission? The mission is simple. We save lives every day. We see our clients, not just look at them, because you can look at anybody without seeing them. We care for them. We understand that they are at a crossroad, and we welcome them to go another way. As long as they have faith the size of a mustard seed, then we have an opportunity to reach them through therapeutic services. Our missions say that we believe that they can change despite their obstacles, despite their circumstances, despite the cards that they were dealt and the ones that they dealt themselves. Now, some would say, or some have, I'm sure have said, how in the world was the portal so successful this year? When I joined the team, we had 3 clients, and I had 1 staff. And Ms. Clark said, fix the program, get me some clients. And I said, oh my. But it was a challenge that I was not afraid of. So the first thing that I did successfully, and I hear everyone, and I know it's a struggle, but we became fully staffed for the first time in years. So the one component was I found a team, a strong team, an amazing team, a team of passion. The second was focusing on the services. The services are so important, they're vital. A lot of people think of the services being therapy, groups, individuals, family counseling. We provided all of those, but in addition, we had to provide life skills because many of them did not have them. Employability training. We teamed up with new community partners, Operation New Hope, and Career Source Level Up. What they provided was training. They even gave them $100 a week to attend their classes, job placement, mock interviews. The sky is the limit of what all they provided to our clients. We even worked together. So one of the stipulations was if you come in, you have to pass a drug test. And if they didn't pass, guess what? They referred them to us. And then once they started therapy, they had another opportunity to start again. Public assistance, we all know. A lot of them come in, food stamps, Medicaid, driver license, needing Social Security cards, birth certificates. So we provided that as well. Transportation assistance, we provided bus passes. And I've even saw and watched my team take and pick up clients to attend group. Case management services, amazing. My team was out in the field building the relationships that we had, rebuilding the relationships that we had, but also building new partnerships. We had vocational training opportunities. Valencia teamed up with us and they said, if you have 20 committed clients, we will have available vocational training and they will skip the line. We also provided on-site HIV testing from partnering up with BAM. BAM is through Orange Blossom Health Center. What they did was provide HIV STD training on site. They also did counseling as well, and they obviously they provided contraceptives, which the clients appreciated. I think that went faster than the bubble gum sitting in front of the group. We also had parenting classes available for those who were planning on reunifying or just wanted to learn more about being a parent because they had missed so much in their children's lives. We had a food pantry. Our food pantry was not just for our clients, but it was open to the community. it's same as our clothing closet, open to the community. We also provided additional financial support. So we were able to look at the funding, and one of the biggest barriers that I'm sure everyone in this room understands is housing. Housing. So by the grace of God, we were able to provide up to 1 month rent, transitional housing rent, to our clients who were in need of that support to kind of help them get a kickstart because they were getting employed, coming out, and a lot of them did not have anywhere to go. Batterers Intervention Program, I'm going to share a little bit about what we want to do and what was in process of us doing. We were in process of teaming up to provide a Batterers Intervention Program at our location, the Portal. We also were in the process of having a federal bonding program inside the facility. We had support from the Career Source Level Up because they provided it, but we wanted to have it in-house. Also, financial classes. Yes, we provided certain skills, life skills, but one important component was learning about money and what to do with your money and how to grow your money. And so we were in the process of reaching out and having the conversation with the bank tellers, because who knows better than tell us about money than the people who run the bank? We already talked about vocational training, even though the goal was to expand on that. And lastly, but not least, veterans services, extremely important in our communities. And you often see that the percentage is extremely high for addiction amongst our veterans as well. I want to take the time out to thank and just share with you all my team, a magnificent team, a team that have called me because they're sitting in front of the jail waiting for their clients to be released. And they don't want to miss them. They don't want them to come, go home and disappear. I also had a staff who was at the dumpster because their client was dumpster diving, and they waited for them to come out the dumpster and take them to our treatment center. Even put the clothes in there from the shopping cart. That's how committed my team was to the program. When I came in, we have 3 clients, and our utilization rate was 27%. I shared with you we were fully staffed. We're fully staffed for this quarter, and we also exceeded our performance measures. Our performance measures was a utilization of 104%. We were supposed to serve 75 clients. We served 78, and we would have served more. However, as Ms. Denmark shared, we were in a transition. We found out about some things that slowed us down. But in the midst of it, we had 10 ready to walk in and 20 that were approved and pending release from incarceration. Our goal is, I forgot something. Sorry. We fed more than 57 families in addition to our clients. We provided over 200 bus passes to clients that needed transportation assistance. We provided over 200 food gift cards ranging from $10 to $50. The clothing, 100 clothing items, and that was the first that we opened our doors. We provided backpack and supplies to 30 families, which was extremely important because when I came in, the first time for the back to school, no one showed up. We had 30 families this year. There was weeks and weeks and weeks where no one showed up to group. One day I walked in and there were 30 people in group. So we truly made a change, and I could not have done that change without my team. Going forward, our goals, because we believe we're going to get some more funding to keep changing the lives of others in this community. We want to become the known and respected pillar of wraparound services, not just to our clients, but to the whole community. We want them to be able to walk in the door and we can assist them, because the reality is no one is going to focus on sobriety if they're hungry and homeless. So we want to provide those services. We want to become a central location where individuals can receive services and the community on-site and receive referrals for off-site services. I'm not going to read all of that because everybody can read. But I want to say this. Services is a vital component to change, to working with our clientele, to changing their lives. It's also an opportunity where For one, personally, I see, if my father had that opportunity, it would have impacted me differently. Some of the obstacles that I went through, some of the adversity I went through, I'm sure would have been different if my childhood was different. We do something, a service that not only affects children's lives, but it saves the children of children's lives. It saves families. It saves mothers and fathers, cousins, sisters, families, and friends. That is who we are. That is the mission here at Bridges International. Before I close, I want to thank Mrs. Clark. She supports me, she trusts me, and she has guided me in this whole transition, this whole experience. I thank Father Charles because I met him first, and he believed in me as well. I leave this with you all. I share with my team all the time. You have to go under the bridge to take them over the bridge. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Schroeder, for that powerful, powerful speech. All right. Now, please allow me to introduce to you a man who's been with the company for over 21 years. He's the director of chaplaincy here at the Bridges International. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chaplain Jerry Twitter.
I don't usually need a microphone, but I'm going to use it anyway. First of all, I want to say thank you. I want to say, isn't this a wonderful time to be able to hear what God is doing in the lives of our staff, our directors, our leadership, our board, and most especially those in our care and their families. Expanded, because it's not just there, it's going into their communities and their families' families. When you start looking at some of the folks that are different, and I will tell you they really are going to be able to give back to other people. For your information, here in our church, we have 3 or 4 men that have come through our program. They're now graduates for a long time, and they're here giving back because they care. It's a way of thanking everybody. What I want to share with you, and I must tell you, I had some not pleasant thoughts at that time. Miss Lori, you were sharing some of what I was going to say. You did that last night. I've heard it throughout the day. It seems, darn, why is everybody saying what I was going to say? What I can tell you is this, and I'll use me as an example. I continue to do a whole lot of things in my life, some of which I am ashamed of. Today, I can at least say God has forgiven me. But the one thing I kept asking for is, what does it take for a person to change? It finally came to me, hope. Why work if there is no real chance of it being different? I got that after I realized, gee, all of my life in drinking and others, here I am, I've always been wanting, I keep working in this field, and it's like all of a sudden a light went on and said, oh, I wanted to learn something for me, and now it's something to pass on to others. The reason that I'm sharing this is that if you listen to our chaplains, much of what you've all shared, chaplains have been involved with. They built relationships. They're encouraging others to be involved. We have at all of our sites in one way or another have gotten into a community reentry centers. Not centers, but the relationships so that we build them. Beyond all that, we're here to support. And a lot of those things, when you were saying gifts came in, donations came in, chaplains have been involved. One of the messages to me that is both not even unique, but it's something that I'd not seen at the level that I have seen it. Remember something that Bishop Frank would say, and I know that he said it because I remember hearing it, and that is you can really see when a person has changed. Value systems are changed when they give voluntarily and they donate their time and they want to serve. Well, I want to let you know here in this room, about not quite a year ago, We had a group from Orlando, and for Auburndale, they came in here, worked with another group called No Child Hungry. They put together 90,000 packages of food. Within a couple of days, that was sent over to the Ukraine. The organizations that we've become involved with are not only feeding and helping, whether it be for food or whatever, the local population, and they do, whether it's part of a church or just because they're in the community, yes, they are. But the organizations that we've become involved with are both local, statewide, national, and some of them are international. That's our folks. Excuse me, it always gets to me when I look around and I see people giving that used to take. At first, I thought they were just getting out to get off property. But I watched what they were doing, and I've talked to the people that work with them. Now, one of the messages that we've had, we want to have more volunteers. Why? What are we going to do? It only took me about 4 years here to finally realize, maybe it was longer, the first step is let's bring in chaplains. We don't have chaplains at all the sites. Well, we don't have the money right now to pay for them. How about we do this? And Ms. Clark, I want to give you some acknowledgement. Thank you. I kept saying, every time I do it, nothing happens. You said, why don't we put it on our website? Oh, never thought of that. Thank you. Now it's a matter of following up and putting it on there. Because here's what really hit me, is if I talk to everybody, all the directors, they're going to say, well, I don't have time to get out into the community to do things, and I know that's true. Well, what if we can connect with somebody in that field that is qualified, is involved in the community? They can come in, whatever else they need. They have other people that they can connect with. They can help to us expand. So my message today, I guess, is simply that hope is something that is part of my life. If I take out my little keys, there's a little clip on there, and it reminds me of Jeremiah 29:11. And my wife went out after our first major fight when we had gotten married. No physical, okay, just a lot of arguing. She came back to me a day or so later with this and said, we have a future together. Wow. So if you believe a man can change, I do. I have. I don't know about any of you, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Again, if we can now provide with our caring, with the skills and knowledge and abilities that we have, chaplains are going to be the relationship in the community. Now, I want to let you know, I'm also going to encourage you to do this. And folks, this is a little bit of a challenge. One of the things that I find sometimes when you go to some of the facilities, there's just kind of like where's the life? Well, how about if I challenge you to do this? Directors, start setting up competitions. My first idea was to have weightlifting and have them have to lift weights with Father Charles, and he said, no, that was unsafe because people are going to try too hard and somebody's going to get hurt. I said, well, I'm hurt, so I understand. We won't. But I will tell you something else. Some of your folks have talents in singing, instruments, board games. Some people, you say, let's play Scrabble. They just wipe you out. They know what they're doing. When you have that competition, and I haven't even asked Father Charles, I'm sure he's going to go along with it. Notice I had to look at him a minute. The message would be, you all have competitions. We can help with giving out awards. Imagine what happens at your facility. And I can give you an example. Ms. Denmark, at her facility, I'll join in, but at Broward and Turning Point, we used to have an ongoing competition, 3-on-3 basketball. No matter what, everybody wins. One of the times it really got to me is a man that you may remember him when he came in to prison, and he was there for 16 years. He had ended up having a bad knee, couldn't walk. They put him in a wheelchair, and his faith said, I'm not going to stay in a wheelchair long. Got him into a walker, got him onto crutches, got him on a cane. You know what? He was on one of those teams. I think his team came in second, but can you imagine what that meant? And I see this young man over here coming toward me, so I better shut up. My message would be, believe Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans not to harm you, but to give you hope and a future. That's what we're doing. We're asking that for the chaplains. We're asking that from all of you. And I hope you will take on that challenge. Because I'd hate to come back here next year and say, oh, none of you did anything with that? I know you better than that. Let's come up with some plans. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chaplain Twitchell. Next, we'll hear from the Count Payroll Management, Management Bridges of Florida, HR Director, who has been with the company for over 7 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Morales.
Now, I promise to be brief. All right. So hello, everyone. Today I'll be discussing a little bit about the human resource portions of our annual goals, also some challenges, as you may know. I'll just go over it a little bit. Employee terminations, very struggle for the year due to policy violations, as many of I communicate a lot with the directors, so I know all the struggles that you guys have with those policy violations and those staff that do that. Also resignations, and then a lot of those resignations have to do with staff, and that's just to be a little more real. Some of the other challenges that kind of goes into the just continued inflation with the wages. It causes strain. It increases the amount of competition that you have. So some things and accomplishments that we have done this year is setting up Paycom IP restrictions. So a challenge also, before I go into that, is employee burnout or excessive amounts of overtime. So because of those staff restrictions, or those lack of staff, sometimes it places a burden or more of people trying to cover within your bridges. And that creates more overtime because now you have a staff member that tries to, that has no choice but to cover those staff. With that, there's a difference between like having overtime based on lack of restriction or having overtime because of employees clocking in and clocking out from their phones, which we did recently in this year. We did a major audit on that, just to kind of keep tighter, just not waste any financial. If people are going on their time cards and putting excessive overtime, it's not based on that. So one of the accomplishments that we have done in the human resource was actually getting with Paycom and actually setting up IP restrictions. So now, currently, and in the past couple months, no longer can employees sign in through their phone. So it is impossible from that. And thank you, IT and Gene, and everybody that kind of was associated with that. Some other accomplishments, when trying to find staff, we've been doing more job fairs and things like that. And shout out to Mr. Kyles. He has been coming to a lot of the sites that we've had, and it's just open. So anytime we have a job fair, one of the things that we do, time is money. So we had on-site interviews done by Ms. Clark as well for getting, I think we got one counselor or something. Yeah. So those are some accomplishments as well. Another thing, and the last thing that I'll talk about, is just a continuation of the referral bonus. It's been probably in the last 2 years. So since this program's inception, we've had over 40 individuals. In order to qualify for this employee referral bonus, you actually have to be with the company for at least 30 days. So I can say that at least 40 individuals have, been with the company because of another person within the company. And trust me, they love it because they're not only financially compensated, because I have I have one person with 3 people. Because once they find out that they get that check, they're going to, okay, we're going to do it. But we also gain a referenced employee. We also gain an employee that's kind of vetted by another employee. And then also a person that actually is going to stay with us for 30 days. And if they're with us for 30 days, their probably more likelihood of staying with us is actually a lot higher than if we found somebody in otherwise. And then the last thing is the goals. Of course, some of the things that we want to accomplish for the next year, and hopefully I can report on it the next year that we've actually done, is just increasing our trainings, not just with just the leadership. An aspect of HR is trying to build leaders also within the leadership and also within your team. So that's something that we can do, and we're open into doing that in-house or virtual. So there's something that we have planned. So with that being said, I want to turn it over to Mr. Kyles, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Morales, and thank you for adhering to the time. All right. Next, we'll hear from the teams who play an intricate role in helping us progress further into our leadership roles. I'm not just saying this because I was a former member of this team, but I'm saying this because I know how important each individual role is to this company. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the quality management team.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Kyles. Yes, you were part of the quality management team. Now you're director, and we'll be seeing you soon. Before I start off real quick, I want to say thank you to everyone in the room. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for leadership. But more importantly, thank you, directors. I know a lot of times we come to your sites and we audit, and Mr. Harris always says that we're the team that doesn't deliver the good news. And you hate to see us coming, but you love to see us go. But we want to let you guys know that we appreciate what you do. We understand the struggles. We understand what you do, and keep doing a good job. A lot of times we focus on the negative, but what you guys stood up here and talked about today is very important. Never forget that. Never forget what you do, who you do it for. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and jump into the quality management team and what we do. The quality management team's focus for the 2022-2023 fiscal year continued to be centered on training the field and service and in program delivery to increase successful contractual audit outcomes and enhance service delivery for clients and inmates served. Our team approach this year was focused on ensuring the appropriate resources and guidance were provided to the field by analyzation of specific issues pertaining to service delivery and contract performance. This included supplying data analysis to the field so that training could increase positive outcomes. Additionally, we continued to provide supervisory training modules for all supervisors promoted into management level positions. Training sessions held by our corporate yielding of a total of 10 participants trained during this fiscal reporting year. The QM team worked collectively to review all Bridges International policy and procedures. In doing so, we addressed policy changes and revisions consistent with ACA, CARF, DCF, and FDC applicable updates. Completion of this project resulted in the field being provided all current policies, ensuring up-to-date changes were fluidly delivered throughout the year and updated to the Bridge Web Policy Portal. This enhanced service performance linked to audit outcomes facility-wide.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon. We're approaching noontime real soon. All right, so I'm speaking on the clinical management quality team. I'm speaking on behalf of Dr. Charles as well. So for the quality management team, we continue to conduct quarterly on-site and desk audits. Our team conducted a total of 23 on-site evaluations and 26 desk audits, gauging facility performance and ensuring compliance with contractual requirements. Clinical supervisors provided monthly clinical supervision and evaluated contractual performance and biannual monitoring processes at each site quarterly. This resulted in no repeat findings in programs for this fiscal reporting year. Our on-site visits remained focused on service delivery according to contractual requirements and ensuring that our team followed up on the corrective action performance of each facility resulting from their biannual contract monitoring outcomes. By doing so, we saw financial penalties levied against facilities, agency-wide decrease from 8 facilities in fiscal year of 21-22 to 5 facilities in 2022 and 23 fiscal year. This subsequently resulted in the decrease of financial consequences of 84%, a measurable comparison yielding positive outcomes for the facility and the agency as a whole. Thank you.
Good morning, almost afternoon, everybody. So basically, as Mr. Thomas calls us, he refers to the team as Avengers. And we have, we have a leader is Captain America. So when we do so much more than just audit, okay? We actually, when we hear Captain America say, Avengers assemble, we go to his office and we take on these various challenges, okay? Ensuring that the quality of services rendered are done fluidly to the facilities, and we supply the resources, navigation, and assistance whenever needed or called upon, whether it's training, as Mr. Thomas spoke about, whether it's auditing, or whether it's preparing the facilities, just as we are with Orlando, who is seeking reaccreditation November 8th and 9th. Okay, we are absolutely excited about seeing all the facilities every time we go around. We have assisted the Bureau of Prisons, the BFRC, with their PREA compliance, as well as other things as we're called upon. As Mr. Smith often say, he'll walk up to the office, see us in the office, and say, oh, I see you're at it again. The Avengers are assembled. And we do this because we absolutely love what we do. We love the mission. We believe in the mission. And if you notice, when we do come on your property and we walk around, a lot of times we're actually talking to the clients. We're talking to the inmates. We're evaluating the environment and the culture in which you are actually delivering these services to ensure that they are effective, in compliance with programmatic, and in compliance with operational functionalities, so that we ensure the quality that is rendered supersedes anybody's expectation. And as each of you have sat here and stood here, we see the fruits of our labor through you. So on behalf of the quality management team, we want to thank our leader, Captain Avenger, who is now in the trenches with us in his office. It looks like a ACA file cabinet blew up, okay? And we want to thank Miss Lori Constantino Brown. You absolutely, you have a vision, and we want to carry that out for every client, inmate, staff member, board member, Father Charles, Miss Clark, each and every one of you. We do what we do because we believe in it, believe in you, and yes, we will be seeing you next, and we'll be seeing you next, Miss Francis. Okay? So again, thank you all very much, and we appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kim team. Of course. Up next, we'll hear from the Chief Program Officer and Director of Programs, Ms. Kenyatta Clark.
Well, good afternoon. While he's working on that, they did leave off one of the Ms. Clark, extra. Next slide, please. Our promise from last year. We made a lot of promises last year. I learned from last year, don't make all those promises. We promised to enhance employment-focused training to assist with burnout. We did do that. With collaboration with Father Charles and the quality management team, we were able to address some of the things in the field that caused some of the burnout that our staff seen. Also just gave them refresher things of some of the things that help programs run adequately. We also did that through working with human resources and updating several of our trainings within the Training Reliance platform. Next one is updating person served, exit interviews, and SurveyMonkey, and increasing overall engagement of completion of surveys by 20%. Last year when I did my presentation, I had this slide that showed where, some of the facilities wasn't completing the exit interview at all. I can say currently every facility is completing it, and we increased it not by 20%, but almost like 50% of participation. So it has made a big difference. You guys have identified who is the point of contact to ensure that our offenders, clients complete that, and we get really good feedback from that. So thank you, Director. Standardizing program schedule, format, and curriculums utilized for each level of care. This was a little more complicated than what I realized. Each program is unique in itself. So trying to standardize it becomes a little more complicated. So we did go back in and modify the programs to have the same format, but as to making them totally standardized, it's slightly different because each facility has its own vibe going on. So that's one of the areas that I did see. Measurable increase in person served satisfaction. So the surveys that were completed last year by the offenders and clients, they weren't too happy. That has increased by 70%. They're much more happier. We're doing the services. Develop and implement online social media alumni portal. This is an ongoing project, and it's incorporated with what Ms. Denmark talked about earlier, the Bridge Change email address. No, we don't have the platform right here, and we're continuing to work on it, but the Bridge Change, it still allows them to link back the offenders, to link back to us, their families link back to us, the state attorneys link back to us. So it is a work in progress, and we will get the other part where we're able to put NAAA on it, but they have a way to contact us, so much so that I've received contact while they're in the program. I don't know how that happened, but they've actually emailed me about concerns. So they have an avenue to reach anyone at corporate. Monthly development meetings. Ms. Denmark alluded to this earlier in reference to us continuing to try to explore funding. Funding is a thing. We have to have funding. I don't know if you guys know there's been a national opioid abatement money that's been issued. We are looking and combing weekly. Ms. Denmark is giving me a call. Did you see this one? Did you see that grant? Did you see this grant? Some of them apply to us, some of them don't. But it is a task that we both continue to challenge to see if we can bring down more funding. There's a lot of money out there for the opioid episode that's going on. So with the new things that are coming down, we are hopeful that we will be able to secure grants. We do know that grants are not to bring us a ton of money, but it allows us to continue to do the services like what happens at the portal. That's what it's about, providing those services. So we want to continue to go after any grant that can adhere to the Bridge mission. Assist with promoting a healthy organizational culture. That was my last goal from last year. That definitely was the one that stands out to me the most, because as Father Charles transitioned into his new role as Chief Culture Officer, I was in his office as he's putting some of his presentations together to get out to the field to talk about maintaining the culture. What can we do better on the executive level to work together? You know, he allowed me to use him as I transitioned. So I was growing from him as he moved into his new position. So thank you, Father Charles, for that too. I really appreciate that. But the other piece in reference to working culturally was working closely with the chaplain. The chaplain, everybody should know this. When the bishop found this program, we didn't have all these extra things, all these kind of programs. He only had his chaplain, his chaplaincy. That was it. He didn't have much more. So I try not to stray away from that. In any way that I can be an assistance to the chaplaincy program, I try to help and work with him and continue to create ideas. He talked a little bit about job placement. The idea was, let's put it on Indeed as a volunteer chaplain so people can sign up through Indeed. Just like we post our jobs, put on there, hey, we're looking for a volunteer for a chaplain. You won't get paid, but we want it, we you know, and let them see it in that way. There's a lot of people looking for volunteership. We just got to continue to bring forth the ideas in different ways. So that's what Father Jenner was talking about. So those were my promises from last year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did do, what we did well. Dr. Lott and Estrada talked about some of this stuff. We did a lot of community legwork, drug courts. All of those you see on the left-hand side were places that we physically visited, drug court-wise. Or either they physically visited us. So that's a lot of communication. That helps not only in the residential, but it just helps overall that we're putting out in the community. Community partnerships, Polk County Reentry Simulation, that was where we participated in a offender getting out of jail, and we had to be the offender and actually go through the process. See how it feels? It's like our immersion training, but it was from the jail directly. We participated in that. Orange County Task Force, several things we did with them. Awareness recovery programs. Heartland for Children, we're trying to expand with the Department of Children and Families. They're the lead agency in Polk County. Again, we talked about Polk County Jail volunteers. He talked about that some. Some of our collaborations been with Orlando Job Partnerships. We have a lot of new partnerships in Orlando, not just on the community release side, but also on the residential side. Troy University, Grand Canyon, Rollins College. We got, I believe, 5 applicants for internships. Now we just got to move them forward. You know, so we're out there in the community trying to do different things. Orange County Urban League. We're trying to do that branding that Ms. Denmark is talking about in reference to the bridge, because it's been silent. Like we said, who wants to know that there's a criminal justice facility right in that community? Everybody do now, because we're bigger than just that. We're big. Bridge is big. Any state you go to, somebody know about the bridge. Trust me. Trust me. Program highlights: a people without knowledge of their past history and origin and culture is like a tree without a root. Marcus Garvey said that. So that's why I stick to Father Charles' hip like no other. Because I have to know where I'm coming from to know where I'm going. He and Ms. Brown have established a past course for us that we can't go wrong, because you can't stay in business for 4 decades if you're doing something wrong. Right? Go to the next slide. So here's some highlights. I did get the Administrator of the Year. Everybody from the executive leadership team came. It was a grand old time. Next highlight. Here is a graduation at Arbondale Bridge. I'm always going to go back there. I don't care. I'm going to keep going back every chance I get. Next slide. Father Jennery attending the graduations as well. He's on the scene as much as he can be, you know, so that, again, that collaboration and partnerships. This is one of the things I love about programs. As you look in this slide, I get to touch every department, whether you want me to or not. So go ahead, next slide. This was something that the president insisted on doing here recently. We're reaching out for juvenile justice stuff. I actually was pregnant, I'm sorry. But we she sponsored a juvenile justice support group, the G3 Gala. They're Give God the Glory, and they target juveniles to assist them in after-school programs so that they don't end up in the criminal justice system. So she sponsored that, and we were able to go to that dinner. That's me and some of the program staff, Ms. Perrant and some of my office administrators. We were able to go to that. Ms. Smith was there. She won all kind of prizes. Nice event. Again, making that presence in the community in a positive light. Next slide. Community Resource Expo. Oh my, there's the president. So when they say she shows up, if you invite her, directors, let me just say this. If you invite her, give her ample time, she will show. She stayed there all day. I think she stayed there longer than me, actually. We had a great time. That was hosted by the Orange County Portal. Ms. Denmark helped spearhead that. It was a phenomenal event. Phenomenal event. Next one. Okay, the QM team, they didn't give themselves all the credit that they deserve. The QM team, right, they don't just come to your sites. They're out in the community doing positive work. During Christmas time, we collaborated. We went to several daycares, provided toys. Mr. Cowles dressed up as Santa Claus. It was great. It was great. Toys was donated from the chaplaincy for these community. Again, we're trying to make a community impact because Bridge is bigger than just what people think it is. Go ahead. Job fair. This is us on site. We're doing those job interviews that Mr. Morales is talking about. That's him and his team right there. Mr. Cowles and I was taking pictures, and the mayor was there because it's his event. It's hosted by him. We're taking the pictures. We're doing the jobs on site. So they're being creative, trying to get you people as much as they possibly can. Next one. Oh, this is my favorite. Mr. Harris and I running around the facility in the heat doing the ACA. Of course, he really didn't want to be there, but he had to be there. So we were doing some showing. They had a conference, and of course, Bridget selected. Ms. Denmark set it up, and the team set it up, and here's Mr. Harris and I showing the facility and speaking with them afterwards, giving them books, letting them know the literature and the history behind Bridges. We give them the 4 books. We give them the book from Mr. Constantino. We give them the book from The Lady in the Well. We give them the book from Mrs. Brown that she wrote. We give them the book of Father Charles, the new book that you wrote. So we let them know the history. Next slide. Heart of Mercy. Again, this was a walk that took place right on this street right here. I don't know if you guys know it. It's a dangerous street. Over 150 individuals came out and walked that street from different churches within the community. There should be a picture of Chaplain Fidel because he was a significant part in that. And they came together, collaborated, and said, these streets will not take our community. We took a part of that. We took a part of that. My office coordinator was there. Chaplain Fidel was there. The law enforcement was there. It was a big thing. But Bridge is making another positive presence. Go ahead. Legislative representation, David Smith facility tour. So this was another thing, of course, Ms. Denmark and her legislative journeys, setting up so that they can come see. He toured the residential and the CRC here in Orlando. Those legislators think they know what happens, but until they actually step on the compound and see it, his reaction was, oh my, you see him engaging with the clients. That's him on the left, on your right-hand corner. He was engaging, asking them questions, inquiring, what do you get from these programs? So they want to know what's the secret sauce for Bridge. They want to know. Next slide. Next slide. I'm almost done. So this was, again, Bridges making that positive impact in the community. We host the reentry seminars that happen in Central Florida. Hosted it right here. It was hosted right in this church. Father Jennery and his team and Father Charles, we're part of it, continuing to stay present in the community. That's what we're trying to do. Next slide. Family Day. These are my favorites. I love Family Day. I love them. This is what I really love. Young lady, they have all kind of resident pets over there. She grabbed the chicken, and she's playing with the chicken, and she's able to take a picture with the Easter Bunny, and we get to see our clients enjoy their families. Very important. Next slide. Miss Larson. Miss Larson is the silent person that we all have to have communication with. Miss Larson actually won at one of our events that, again, the president sponsored to be a part of. So, again, it's a team here. Everyone is a team here. We're a team. Go ahead. The Voices of Florida Women's Roundtable. This is something the president ended up sending me to, I think at the last minute or something, but it was very interesting. There was a lot of legislators there. It was a lot of people from mental health. Again, that presence, being present, and me being able to articulate with the Bridge mission and what we're trying to do in the behavioral health field. That was really, really important. Next slide. So, I'm coming to my conclusion. If we are to preserve culture, we must continue to create it. What do I mean by that? This is my new role as Chief Program Officer. The President, Father Charles, who's the Senior Vice President, have entrusted me with their program. They've entrusted my skill set. I'm going to build off of what they've established, and they are giving me the freedom and entrusting in me. So we do the same thing with you guys. We entrust that you're going to run your programs. I'm so proud to be sitting at that table with those individuals that presented. They presented with confidence. They're doing the work. They're taking pride. I can't do that by myself. I thank you, Lori. I thank you, Ms. Dorsey. I thank you, Father Charles, as our Vice President, and Ms. Denmark, as our Vice Presidents and Presidents for allowing us to do what we need to do. So the goals for the program, they're slimmed down this year. Goals, expand the program department training platform. So the big thing is mental health. I want to get in the field, in the CRCs, it's mental health first aid, where they can see these clients who are having mental health issues. It doesn't just pertain to the residential. We have at the female site in Bradenton a longer pill line than we do in the residential program. Designer drug profiles, it's so different. It's so different right now. There's drugs that look like Lysol scripts. And if you're not aware of it, your clients can be taking it. Family team conferences, this is new. This is new. It's to serve our families. It's a free in-kind service. I've started a pilot program at the residential programs right now. Thank you. Started a pilot program at the residentials. Every client that has a dependency case, we will be in court with them, walking them through the process, helping them. Hold on, I got one more. Focusing on expanding funding, we know that. Continuing to increase community visibility. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to do that as much as possible, so you will see that we're making an impact. That's important. It's important. So thank you, Mr. Cowles, for pulling my bell. Thank you, directors. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thank you, board of directors.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Next year, we're going to have some ground rules. I'm just going to come snatch the mic. All right. Thank you, Ms. Clark. Before I introduce the next speaker, I want to say it's been a pleasure again to once be the master of ceremony. I had fun this year. I had fun. I was nervous last year, but this year, I actually had fun. So thank you for allowing me to yet again present to you all as a master of ceremony. I want to thank each of you for your continued determination and dedication to helping the inmates and clients to whom we serve together. In order to make this statement, we believe a man or woman can change, we must care. Thank you. Now, we'll be hearing the closing remarks from a friend to some and a mentor to others, the Chief of Quality Management Officer, Mr. David Harris.
I don't deserve the gratitude. I'd say that wholeheartedly because the work is not accomplished by me. It never is, it never has been, and it never will be. It is never accomplished by me. It is always accomplished by those that are in the trenches, that are in the grind daily, that is performing the work. So I start off, Ms. Brown, again. It's been 11 years. This year is 11 years. We have accomplished another successful annual meeting, and the directors, for your presentation, thank you for all your hard work and everything that you put into getting the job done and making it happen. Ms. Brown has challenged us this year once again, and she challenged us every year, to new opportunities and to new things that needs to be accomplished. And it never ceases to amaze me that my closing remarks never have to be written, never have to be rehearsed, because the foundation has already been laid and it always line up with whatever I'm already going to speak. So I never have to do those things. I'm always that fortunate. I say that to say this. Here's what you've been challenged with. You've been challenged to go back and build your team. You've been challenged to go back and serve the clients with all of your heart, with all of your passion, to ensure that they are engaging with their families and that they are becoming productive citizens in order for us to be connected together. We'll always be connected to the clients. Last year, I forgot to do something, and this year I won't forget to do it. Last year, I forgot to thank Diana Larson. This year, I won't forget that. And the reason why I say last year I forgot, and I told my team afterwards, was something that I forgot to do. And that was, I forgot to thank you for all of the behind-the-scene things that go on that makes this work we do that nobody ever knows that's going on, because it's so much it takes to put on something of this nature. But we make it look like it is seamless, but it's not. It's a lot of work, and I want to thank you because you put forth, you and your staff helped me get a lot of the stuff that we need to get done. Ms. Dorsey, thank you. Thank you for your tireless efforts and your trust in that I'm going to do what Ms. Brown has provided to you to give to me in order for it to occur. I'm thankful for that. And I say this statement. Here's my challenge to you. My challenge to you this year is to model the way. Model the way for what you expect at your facility. And I look at this statement, it's two things I'm going to say, because I'm standing between lunch and my stomach right now is growling. I am hungry. So I'm not going to be long. I promise you that. You won't have to stand up for me, Mr. Cowles. Listen to this closely. Children have never been very good at listening to elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. They have never failed to imitate them. They might not ever listen, but they will imitate. If you want your facility to be the most productive facility based on your leadership, model the way. Model the way. Every piece of expectation that you want that you're not receiving, before you look at them, look at you, model the way. Because what you, okay? I say that to you all the time, and it's important. That's what we expect moving forward. There's a creed that I read, and it's often that I read this creed. And it goes this way. Seek and merit divine help daily. Succeed at home first daily. Never compromise with honesty daily. Remember the people involved that helped you get where you're at daily. Hear both sides before judging daily. Obtain counsel from others daily. Defend those who are absent daily. Be sincere, yet decisive daily. Develop one new proficiency a year daily. Plan tomorrow's work today daily. Hustle while you wait. Maintain a positive attitude. Keep a sense of humor. Be orderly in person and in work. Do not fear mistakes. Fear only the absence of creative, constructive, and corrective responses to those mistakes daily. If you want a successful team, model the creed. If you want a successful team, do this final thing. And take your pencil and write this word down. It's so simple. Just write it on a piece of paper for this acrostic. Just write it. And that simple word is pride. Take pride in what you do. Thank you for another great year, and looking forward to working with you guys the rest of this year. Thank you.
Been a long morning, and I know everybody's hungry, but we got just one more really important thing to do. First of all, I forgot to do this earlier, and I wanted to take a moment to introduce again to the organization not a new VP, but a returning VP, and that is my mother, Bunny Costantino, who has come out of retirement and back on the board at CPM and actively involved in helping us to continue the mission. And for those of you that read the book and know her, know that it's all about the inmate families And for many years, that family reunification was hers. That was her job in this organization up until the point where she retired. So we're really excited to have her back as part of the team. Now, sadly, I have to inform you that we're losing a member of our board, a very important and more than just a board member, a founder, a partner, and a special friend who has loved this organization, who have loved its founder and its family, who have loved me through all the hard times and trying to run this organization. Time has gone on and he needs to retire and move on and do with his life. And we just love Jim. And we're so happy to have had him and be a part of him. I could sit up here forever and tell you how he's been a contributing member of this community from the beginning. And when we were just first starting at the bridge, Jim came down and he trained and he started a bridge also, which is still in existence, the New England Bridge up in Massachusetts. And then when he retired from that, he came to Florida and continued to work for us and work with us and be on our board and support us in every way that he can. So, Jim, if you could come up here for a second. We got a little gift. It's just a little token. Give him a hug and hours.
My stomach's growling too. Don't want to let that get in the way. But I want to say this, that I've been connected with this organization, especially with Christian Prison Ministries and then with the Bridge, since, believe it or not, 1977. That's when I first met her dad, Frank Costantino. He was a great mentor to me over the years, a great friend. He became my bishop, and it's been a wonderful journey, through so many different things. And as I came on the property today, that verse from that great hymn, Amazing Grace, just kept ringing in me all the way, with all these presentations. It's been just regurgitating, coming over and over again to me, through many dangers, toils, and snares. We have already come. It's grace brought us this far, and grace will bring us home. And I believe that all of you here agree with that it's God's grace, it's God's provision to, first of all, the Costantinos, and then to all of you, and over the years, how things have developed over the years. It's been such a great privilege. I stand in awe when I've been at the recent board meetings over the last few years of the wonderful professionalism, competency, and working together. I've just seen this develop so much. And quite frankly, as an old guy, I'm getting kind of out of step. I don't know the intricacies of this operation anywhere near the way you do, and I feel it's the right time for me to step aside. And it's so good to see Bunny coming back on and being part of this again. God bless you all. Thanks for this, and thanks for the wonderful ride that this has been with all of you. God bless.
Now, with that being said, I thought it was my last time speaking, so I do have one more entry to make. Father General, Chaplain General, would you mind please blessing the food for us so we can eat? Please.
You like the short one or the long one? Do you want the sort of a little bit fanatical or fun? The mini. You're going to be surprised. Yub-a-dub-dub. Thanks for the food. Now let's go have some. Bless this time together. Bless the food. We just say thank you, Lord, for what you have given us, for what we know you are going to give us, and we know what the product and the fruit of all of this labors. So bless us all. Bless this time together. Amen. Well, I had a longer one, but no, I don't.